Okay.
Audrey, can you hear us better now?
Oh.
Hello, Audrey. Yes, I can hear you, but she just can't talk. Okay, good. And Sean can hear us. Appreciate you can't hear me. No, I cannot hear you, Audrey. We're gonna mute while I'm talking, right? But if they have questions, I guess I'll just go back to the chat or something. Check it every once in a while.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah. Hi, Sean.
Did you mute us?
Hey guys.
You may be open to go to meeting laptop just to monitor.
I don't want to belabor anything in the future, so you should be impressed.
We are impressed.
What did you say?
You're impressive.
I said I'm calling from the future.
That's a great thing.
It's 11 o'clock here.
Oh. You're 2 hours ahead of us?
Very sarcastic. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I'm more inspired.
Understandable. When you're tired, right? All of our filters do, right? Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I get a little confused.
We when tired is our choice. Yeah. Undiplomatic when tired. You're diplomatic when tired?
Undiplomatic.
Oh, undiplomatic, right. Oh. Here tonight. I don't even know why. Just stop. Okay.
Rolling 111-222-333.
Can't get in?
Maybe I clicked the wrong thing.
I just want to see if I plug them in, if I can hear anything.
Not sure.
Let's see. Where's this? It says HMIS community. Here it is.
Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the HMIS demonstration for Adsystech. I'm Kelly Barker. I'm my title is Sport Line Program Manager, but I'm with the Division of Housing. Thank you for participating in the vendor demos for the Colorado HMIS vendor selection process. As many of you know, there are 4 vendors being reviewed, each of which have 2 days of demos and sandbox sessions. There are a small number of participants from each COC participating on-site, and others are participating via webinar. These demonstrations will allow you to experience the database and vendors to demonstrate how their products meet the community's requirements. The 2-day demonstrations conducted in our community are as follows. So, and note that these demonstrations will also be available via webinar. So day 1, which is today, from 9 to 12 is the overall demonstration, and then from 1:30 to 3:30 is the user sandbox, which will be held at MDHI, the user sandbox. And then on day 2, tomorrow, from 9 to 11, is the coordinated entry sandbox, which will also be held at Mile High United Way, as well as the rest of the sandboxes that day. The second sandbox is from 11 to 1, which is the reporting sandbox, and from 2 to 4 is the system admin sandbox, which will not be available to your webinar. The evaluation process, all participants of each session are asked to use the provided scoring tools to ensure each vendor's software is scored in a consistent manner. We are asking participants to be honest when scoring and score based off the functionality being presented. The evaluation tools have elements or topics to be evaluated using a scoring matrix. Excellent means functionality exists and is easy to use. Fair means functionality exists but is not easy to use. Or poor meaning functionality does not exist. There's further guidance within each tool specific to the functionality. The decision. Combined scores from the evaluation tools will be calculated to derive a vendor score, which will then be compared across the scored vendors and will ultimately give the community the ability to select the most suitable vendor for Colorado. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Oh, I'm used to doing a webinar on here. Hello, everyone. Okay, let's just get this presentation up. I guess you're up, Roland?
Okay, good. Good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear us okay? I'll keep checking to make sure. What we wanted to do was start out in the format, which was to begin by the basic quick introduction, and then delve into the details with the demo. So basically, for those that don't know who Adsystech is, we thought it would be appropriate to just give you a quick introduction of the company and where we are, and this transition that we're doing, that we're very excited about, to version 6. So go ahead, Russ. Next. We've been around since 1987. We have major offices in 5 locations in the United States, okay, in particular. And those are the locations where we have all of our sites. I think it's important to understand, and we always, that in this industry that we're in, where we provide enterprise class solutions that go across many different things, of which housing and homelessness is one of the modules. And we've always have the open door that those that are using our software can have access to all the other modules that are part of the enterprise solution. When you look at many of our clients, one of our largest, the City of Chicago, we have about 600 to 800 agencies that are using pretty much all the modules that we have. We just launched our new version 6 with them about a year ago for early learning, because they needed to have where they could use the portal, which was our first version of the portal, and they needed to do automatic registration, and we're going to talk about that as it relates to coordinated entry, some of the same technology we use for both. But I think what's important to understand in that was that we had to register in about 2 months online about 45,000 children and place them into classrooms. So it did complete to selection, eligibility, and placement into classrooms based on their eligibility. So we're using some of the same technology, and we want to at least share that with you. We then began to launch our full version 6, which you're going to see today, which really advances what we initially did a year ago on our new platform and so forth. And we'll talk about that in the presentation as soon as Russian gets back to the keyboard, so I can go to the next slide. But I think what's most important is that in all of our clients is our dedication and commitment to providing solutions that help enrich our communities, and our engagement in not allowing cost and everything else being an impediment to meeting the needs of those that are being served. Obviously, in HMIS and the homeless arena, they are some of the most vulnerable, but in other areas, we provide community services and outreach to communities. The basic platform that allows us to be agile and the ability to create solutions that span across many different domains of services, the different modules, is still part of what we offer in our version 6. Included in that is, and this is just for your, just to keep as part of it, if anyone wants to look at it in more details, is the basic design and the technology platform and all the various things that are offered within the platform. Not going to spend a lot of time with that. I really wanted to talk a little and give the introduction to version 6. The version 6 platform, I think, runs across all the different major platforms, okay, as far as Chrome, Firefox, and Safari, and so forth, as well as your mobile phone technology and so forth. It's available in all of those. Go back, Rich. The also, I think most things like the screen resizing, things like that are in version 5 that were complaints are resolved in version 6. Also, the improved performance, and it's a lighter footprint so that it does run in areas where the internet may be somewhat slow. And finally, we've lowered barriers of access, where we'll be introducing the new version of our Portal 2, which will be going live, I'm sure, this summer in some of our accounts, which really allows clients to actually log in, create their own profile, like in Facebook, and use that profile to actually, request services across whatever services that are being offered. That will tie into the coordinated entry and coordinated services strategy. When we talk about what's new in there and what we focused on, one, we talked about the public exchange, which is also called the portal by some, which again allows, and we're going to introduce that. We will be finalizing the launch of that as I said, this summer. So it's in August, September timeframe. It will be live at some of our clients. They've already scheduled to go live with the upgraded portal. The dashboard we are going to make available at the end of July. So it's going to be in the package that we have, and it will, we're going to allow you to see some of it today. Russell will demo a little bit, but it's your typical dashboard capabilities. It's integrated into it, just like other reporting capabilities. It's just another method of creating reports and so forth. Our goal is to provide dashboards at various levels and across various programs in context to those programs as out of the box. So we are now focused on building those dashboards and building those out. Communication features, a lot of what we think is extremely valuable, even in HMIS and homeless services, are the email, the ability to do text. These methods of access and confirmation on various notifications are now by consumers considered to be a normal way of doing business. So those are all available within the system. There are also you're going to see some pop-over tools for doing searching and so forth that makes it a lot easier. And then the easy app things that we're doing right now with real-time results and shop cart and so forth, the things that tie to the internet and the portal. And finally, we've integrated the speech to text so that for those that want to do especially if you're mobile, doing point in time or something like that, and you want to actually speak into it, there are areas within the system where you'll see a little mic. If you click on that, you can actually speak into it and it'll convert it to text.
Before you go forward, I'm going to back this up, see if I can make it a little bigger for you guys in the back.
Oh, here.
No, that's not it.
No, here it is.
That's not it. Okay, is that better back there for you guys?
And for those that are not aware, as I said, part of the enterprise solution that we provide out of the box spans across all of the various domains of human services. Right now, the HMIS and housing is the module that's we're in discussion today. But for agencies that are expanding beyond that within their enterprise, they have access to the other modules. They are part of the solution that's delivered. There's no additional cost for those modules. And it goes from, there's a lot of agencies now that are looking at mental health and those kind of services and EMR, medical records. All of that is built within our system, as well as for those that are doing early childhood kinds of programs and services. Those are all part of the standard offering of our solution. So the strategy that we are looking at in version 6 to really, our corporate focus is about the having this exchange, the ability for any door being the right door, so that a user coming in or client coming in can have access to all the various services and modules that are within the system. And to give that to every agency access to that capacity and capability. The public exchange ties into the new workflow, as you can see down there, engine also. That workflow engine can be utilized, of course, HMIS. So if someone wants to have a wizard say, how do I do this? It'll automatically pop up the workflow and show you how to take those steps to do it. Also integrated into that are the help, and Russian will demo how you can do. We have video help on every tab, so that if someone doesn't know how to do something, they can just say, click on the video, and it's like a YouTube video. It kind of walks you through exactly how to do that. So to minimize the need for doing formal training, and for the turnover of agencies, staff, okay, there is not a need now to worry about formal training for that turnover, but you can actually just utilize the software for that purpose, and it's integrated into it, as well as your traditional slide down where we give you written help. Reporting, the traditional management reports, application reports, which are reports like case notes or in training out an application and so forth are there, as well as ad hoc reporting. The new addition, as we said, is the dashboard, is just another method with the full analytics of the new Microsoft capabilities is part of what we're offering. So this is just for your notes, the summary of the advantages of the platform and the current version 6. In our implementation, because part of what you asked about was how we approach implementation and so forth, and obviously for the group here, we'll be opening up Sandbox and Sandbox capabilities to the, as a part of that strategy. In the testing and verification under version 6 and in working with HUD, there are a number of test sites where they have test data that now are going to be part of what HUD is providing as standard. We're going to be using that test data as part of our standard regression testing, where they provide it across for all the various reports and so forth, and the data standards. This is, I think, the area that I wanted to pause and just give you an understanding of where we are with version 6. We've already announced that version 5 will not support the new data standards, okay, that we are only going to support that in version 6. Our rollout plan right now is in July and August. We're going to be rolling out our coordinated entry and outreach modules in version 6 and migrating all of our clients over to that. We've already gone through a substantial amount of time in sandboxing it and soliciting information and so forth. So we're opening up obviously the sandbox here before we obviously move you over to that. But that's going to happen in the July, early August timeframe, and the migration of the housing inventory and everything into that. The HMIS version 6, one of the things that we did is that we wanted to make sure that if you're trained on version 6, regardless of whether you're running with the current data standards or the new data standards, there would not be a major issue as far as retraining. I think there will be some areas in which the questions in your question area may change for the program specific, and there's a couple areas in the universal data elements where the drop-down values have changed. But to the user, There's no change in their workflow and how they actually operate with the system to do that. So the intent is to migrate to version 6, okay, during the August-September timeframe, is doing the full migration of that, and in preparation so that in October we would then simply switch over to the new data standards. And that should cause no training or hiccup for the user community. Any questions with that? So that's pretty much what our timeline is. We are now migrating and finalizing all of the, and Russian will show you the new formats, all of the HMIS and the HUD reports, okay, over to our version 6 from what you currently have in version 5. So we're in the final throes of that, and then regression testing that against the new HMIS data that they provide, test data that's provided by HUD. Project approach, we'll just quickly go through a few of these. I mean, the requirements, and obviously looking at there are areas in which we know there were TSPs and other kinds of things that we've already integrated into version 6. We said, no, it's just going to be in 6. We're not going to do it in 5. There were also other enhancement requests and nice to haves that we made sure we put in version 6. So, but we still want to have an opportunity for all of the representatives to look at that and then provide their final comments before we actually begin the rollout. And that's going to happen shortly. So there's always there's a project structure, there's the various stakeholders, and that's just part of the details of just trying to answer those questions that were required as part of this section of the RFP. We're looking at the workflow, the system functionality capabilities, and also the program forms and reports, all a part of what we're going to review in detail beyond what can be done in 2 days. We'll do our standard process that we have. I just included it in here for completeness. That's our gap analysis, reviewing that, and through the sandbox method, and coming up with what the final changes would be before go live. Any questions on that? I know I covered it pretty fast. It's been 3 cups of coffee, trying to stay awake. But so, and the understanding of our timeline, so that over the next few weeks, we will begin that migration process. And we're going to, in first part of August, begin doing our initial data conversion. So we'll be doing data conversion runs of the data from 5 into 6 and doing comparisons and so forth. So that's going to start then. And once we're clear on that, in between 5 and 6, it can be done in groups of agencies at a time. That migration process can occur. But we have this window to complete that, as we talked about and had announced. Yes.
So when we start migrating data from the legislative and then the agency, will the agency's data, will they have to stop using version 5 until the data is brought up into version 6, or can they still keep entering using version 5 and that data will automatically be shown?
No, in this, because when you look at what the difference between 5 and 6, they are not substantial variations. It's not like when we went from 4 to 5. And you could simultaneously be in version 4 and 5 at the same time and was pointing to the same database. This is a clear conversion process. We've changed a number of the data structures to help make the reporting much more simplistic and more accurate as far as not having the complexities that we have in version 5 now. So given that, this is a conversion process, and at that point, it's a cutover. Yes?
Follow up on that. When we first migrated over, we weren't leveraging central intake. We use that word all the time now, thanks, Rushton. But now we are. So if you were to bring over one of the agencies that's using a certain client record in central intake, but the other agency is still using the system, could very likely be updating that information. Is that something that, as you bring it over, if something's been updated, then that would then be brought
Yes,
over each time? Because it could be that the same client is over here in version 6 now, but still being used in 5.5.
Yes, and what you're going to see, and we probably should have some discussion about, in version 6, how we approach managing households is substantially more simplistic. We manage it at the point in which an application is being created or an enrollment process begins. We don't require that you go in central intake and reconfigure the family and the household before you can actually enroll them. At the point in which you start your enrollment process, you decide who's going to be in that particular application, independent of who's the total makeup of that household or that family. And if some people move in or leave and come back and so forth, we're less interested in that. What we're interested in is at the point of enrollment, who are the members that are now enrolling and being verified, and we verify that and lock that down. So a lot of the challenges, okay, that Central Intake had as far as keeping the snapshot and sync and all of that are not at all part of what version 6 is. Completely revamped. And the whole idea of managing households is pretty much not concept that we have in version 6. But we still do have the pool of people, right? Clients, and they are there, and they could be associated with what we call one, and then they could easily be associated with another one, and they could actually be between the two. But when an application is created at the time of enrollment, then we're looking at and doing the necessary rule checking to say, okay, you can't already be enrolled in this program under this household, and also. So that's where we manage that. So it greatly reduces the burden of the users.
So I received some messages from Jeff and Sean. They'd like the question repeated closer to the mic because they couldn't understand it.
Which question?
Any question. Beverly's, I think.
In general.
Well, it was just these were the only two questions, and then moving forward.
Can they hear your voice, Russ, since it carries better?
Well, yeah, I think Beverly.
Beverly's question was
Oh, can they use the two versions simultaneously?
Yes. Right. So Beverly's, can you hear me better now? Can you confirm? Because it's facing you, it might.
They said that we're clear. The questions from the presenters are clear. Questions from those are not. So we just need to repeat.
The question from Beverly was related to the basically in the previous migration, you were allowed to actually enter information from both the previous version and the new version you were migrating to. In version 5 to 6 migration, we are not allowing that. It is a cutover point in which we will convert. At that point, you will be off of version 5 and you will be on version 6. We can do that in an incremental manner, okay, because obviously when you have a large number of user accounts, you want to be able to manage that in a progression and to just deal with that on a incremental basis.
Traffic outreach.
The
Tony, how
second
can I
question-
help you? Hello?
Hello.
Wrong number.
Thank you.
Hello?
Wrong numbers.
You have the wrong number.
We're at max.
Weird.
That was an incoming call.
Yeah.
The second question was from Eva regarding how the migration is going to impact the concept of central intake and how we manage households and families and so forth. And the response to that, which we'll talk about more in the demo, is that in version 6, the concept of central intake and managing your household at this common repository in order to enter a family or household enroll them into a program is no longer how we manage that in version 6. We don't really manage families and households to that level. What we do, so you don't have to move someone out and move them into another one and so forth. None of that occurs. At the point in which you're enrolling someone, that application, at that point, you would be selecting from all those members within your household, those that are going to be participating in that particular application. If someone already exists in some other one, we also manage the unduplicated linking of those in the background. So the user is not responsible for trying to manage the uniqueness of those clients. We are managing that and removing that burden from the user community, as well as they're not responsible for moving people in and out of the household prior to beginning an application process. They just simply start the application process and then select from their household inventory, we think of it as inventory, those that are going to be participating and receiving services during this particular enrollment period. So that is a major shift from where we were in version 5 to version 6. From all of the feedback we've gotten, it's been well welcomed because that burden is difficult and challenging. It's probably one of the most complicated tasks that you have to do within the current version 5.
So my other question is will we have the ability as we migrate our data to kind of reduce lag time if we could migrate active client records first so that people can be, I'm thinking it might go faster because we have a significant number of records in the system. So, for example, if we were to choose 10 agencies, migrate their active client records first, so then they just automatically switch over and then come back and put in the historical records at a later date.
Right. So Beverly was asking the strategy for migration of the data and whether or not we would do just your current active clients first, and then after that do the others. Some of the feedback we have received was for an agency and case managers that want to see the history, that their preference would be, since we're only doing it a group of agencies at a time, it really doesn't, the amount of data becomes less burdensome because we're not doing all of them at one time. So our preference right now is when an agency comes over to provide them with all of their data, okay, up to whatever is agreed upon is the history, 5 years of whatever that is, so that if they need to go back and look at previous case notes and other information on those clients while they're in version 6, they don't, the goal is not for them to go back to version 5 for anything when they switch over to version 6. So, so that's, currently what the strategy is.
Question.
Will we have the ability to play around with the new restructuring with families and version 6 today to get user demonstration, or is that something that's going to be later on?
No. You'll have the ability to see exactly how you go through the full enrollment process. Well, let me ask the question first. Sorry. The question is, will you have the ability today during the user session to actually experience how you actually create families and households and how you enroll them into a particular program? And the answer to that is yes. So you'll see exactly how that works, and we'll, I'm sure, provide a lot of, because it is so different than version 5, and the orientation, we found that with other sites that it takes a little time to digest the difference because we're so used to central intake and that whole approach, and so this is different. Any other questions?
Are there any other questions in the chat before we move forward? I have a question from Sean, and it says, has other data transitioned smoothly in previous data migrations for the instance case notes have all combined into one when transferred? So I guess he wants to know, I'm assuming you want to know about other customers that we've moved from 5 to 6.
Yes, and in particular, there are areas within 6 where we've tried to provide, and you're going to see just from the user interface and the user experience, more information. We've pretty much eliminated the concept of a grid on a page where because in the new platform, we want it to be so that if I'm using an iPad, I want to be able to touch and move around, and the grids are not so conducive for that. It's great for doing searches, but it ties up too much real estate. So if you look at, when you look at 6, you're going to see that we've completely revamped how that, the look and feel of that. And in doing so, it's now allows you to, what you're going to see is,
But Roland, the question, I guess Missouri would be a good example. He's asking about data.
right. Well, that's what I'm going to get to. So in the data migration, we are mapping from 5 to 6. We are taking into account areas like case notes where, and case plan is another example for those who use case plan, where it's structured somewhat differently, where you see more of the case notes, and it's easier to see the history of the case notes and so forth. So in those areas, you're going to see where it's structured differently, but all of that data does go over. So there's a direct mapping from, obviously we know what our data structure is for version 5, and we have accounted for everything in version 6. We've just, how it's organized is somewhat different.
And so, Sean, I think the straight answer is we just moved over a statewide Missouri from 5 to 6, and the transition was smooth, migrating all of their data for every single agency throughout the entire state from 5 to 6.
And they had, I think, 12 years, something like that of data.
It was a ton of data.
Their database
is probably 5 times larger than the state of Colorado.
How long did their migration take?
I think it was a day and a half.
Yeah. It's a lot of data we're moving. And Chicago, understand Chicago, as I said, is over 600 agencies and thousands of programs. They have over 1,000 case managers entering data across a host of different programs. So the complexity of that is not just one module's worth of stuff. We're doing medical records for patients with HIV and STIs and all of that kind of stuff. So the precision on that is, but the key thing is that since we own the data on both sides, we can account for it all. Okay, whereas if I were doing it, when we do it from external applications, we're just getting what they give us, and then we're trying to map it. So, yes?
In some of these larger municipalities where you're working with a lot of technical information, are you able to collaborate with electronic health records type software for particular agencies that use that type of thing? I know that some of these vendors that we demoed have the ability to maybe bridge with some of that software and sort of proprietary kind of.
The question was our ability to link into other software products, and also the ability in particular in the medical records and so forth. And for the city of Chicago, we do all of their public health. So all of the doctors, the nurses, the clinics enter their information into our public health module. We tie into e-prescription. We tie into all of the immunization kinds of software. We also tie into electronic transfer of labs and lab information, all through certified HIPAA compliance, so that we manage, we imported over 275,000 patients, okay, into our database for them, and over 2 million doctor images, okay, medical record images and so forth. All of their scanning of images, all of those things are all into our EMR database. We had other smaller mental health, because we do all their mental health also, which is part of their public health. Like Alaska signed in to utilize our mental health portion of the EMR. So they're actually doing the electronic records also, and they're doing all of the mental health. And I know for a lot of the HMIS, the mental health component for many of your clients is an important component. So our ability to tie into exchanges that are the medical kinds of exchanges, we have that capacity, as well as to actually manage that within our system itself. So obviously, if we're managing electronic medical records, the ability to, as I said, to interface to those, we've been doing it for a few years in Chicago and other places. And that's, as I said, is all part of the modules that are already in what you currently have. They just haven't been turned on.
Okay, if there aren't any other questions, I'd like to move over toward the live demo. But before we do that, just really quick, can we just do a quick introduction in the room? I know I have some names on the chat board, so I'll just ask for the people in the room. We can start with Beverly. Thank you, Beverly.
Eva Nunes from Pikes Peak United Way, the HMIS lead in El Paso County.
Susie Arnold from Pikes Peak United Way, the DOT lead.
Brian Suggs with HMIS here in Denver.
I'm Joy. I'm from HMIS, lead agency.
What agency?
Statements and.
Oh, okay. CCH, okay.
Eric Greenfield, I'm the HMIS technical trainer at the CCH lead agency, Denver and balance of the state.
Hi, I'm Kelly Barker with the State Division of Housing.
I'm Jody Reynolds, also with the HMIS lead agency, CCH here in Denver. I'm Renee Cruz. I work for Denver's Road Home at the City and County of Denver.
You're with whom?
Denver's Road Home.
Okay.
Yeah, and I work on the coordinated entry side.
Okay.
For the Metro Denver Homeless Initiative.
My name is Duncan, and I work at San Francisco. Will Downing, volunteer from Colorado, veteran services.
April Johnson, with the lead agency for Denver.
Kristen Bailey, we're the Adsystech HMIS.
I'm Heather Cabrera, I'm Housing Director for Homeless Initiative.
I'm Denise Larzo with Springs Rescue Mission. I'm fine.
Great. And then I'm Rustin James. I run our Long Beach operations, production operations, tech support, and our data center, and everything to do with security. So, okay, so just really quickly, for those of you that are in the room, if you're not in the room, you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm holding things up. Just wanted to let you guys know what these are. This is just kind of a nice little pamphlet that talks about our enterprise case management solution. When you get a chance, it's very good bathroom reading, so we'll set this to the side. Then you have the PowerPoint, so you guys should have that. A writing utensil. We gave digital files of the report, and so this would allow you to hold those. And this is the most important document, and I will explain for those of you on the webinar what I'm holding up. And this is the overall demonstration evaluation sheet. My job is to educate this group here and the group on the phone such that everything on this field is marked as excellent. Now, I've reviewed this. I might be a little biased, but I believe that we should have an excellent mark. And so as I go through the demo, I'm going to have to pause because, again, it is my job to ensure that we score high on our test. And I will stop and we will review some of these items. And in the event that someone feels it is not excellent, please let me know. And that means I have not explained it well enough. Because that's, it sounds funny, but I'm serious. I've missed a point. And so I want to make sure that you guys are comfortable and you understand where we are in all these areas that you guys are concerned of so that we're marking this properly, which is excellent for everything, in case you guys didn't get that.
And the ones on the phone should have all of these attachments too.
Yes.
Depending on their COC, they got sent a different way, but.
Right, so Roland will be managing the chat, and let's just go see. I got a great thanks, Rebecca. Oh, okay. Thank you, Rebecca. She's from Glenwood Springs Catholic Charities. And Phyllis, can you put a link on those documents on the web or email them to us? You have them, and these documents will be made available. But the most important document is your demo evaluation, where you need to check excellent for every item. And if you feel that you can't, then send a message and explain why. Audrey says the PDF in the email isn't working. So they'll work that out for you, Audrey. Okay. Let's kind of hide some of this. Let me make some room on my screen. And let's go. We'll start off with, let's just close it total. Okay, so Adsystech version 6 product. Techie, just trust me on this. Works on the latest web design, which is HTML5. HTML5 allows for cross-platform, which means any browser you go to, you should be able to access it, or mobile devices like tablets and phones and things of that nature, okay? I will be using in this demo a couple of browsers, and I believe on here you guys specifically asked, can you have more than one browser? Yes? Do I do what?
Responsive design?
Yes, yes. So you will, yes, exactly. So you'll notice how the system will automatically adjust responsively to the iPad as opposed to the laptop, as opposed to a phone. Great question, April. I took notes. Okay. So I'm going to go to our sandbox site, and I'm going to need this here. Okay. This is the front login for our version 6. You'll notice on the top left corner, we allow for multiple languages. So if I switch it to Spanish, this is Spanish in the event that you know the language. If you don't, then we can just go back to English, where most of us are going to be comfortable. I am going to do this demonstration in 2 ways. We're going to wear a few hats. And the reason why I'm saying we're going to wear a few hats is because in order to properly demonstrate how you would use this product in your community, there are different roles that different people play. And so I'm going to break this up at least in 2 different roles. It could be 3, and I will mention it, or 3 different hats. I'll mention that as I do it. The first one's going to be kind of coordinated entry. So HUD and through their Hearth Act wants all communities, as you guys all know, to have a coordinated entry system so that there can be a centralized access. There are tools to do assessments and prioritize your community in need. You need to be able to have a centralized repository of available units or vouchers. It's not just units, it can also be a voucher. And then you need to be able to through a prioritization, refer these clients for these housing opportunities. Okay, so that first hat is the coordinated entry role, where we're going to, whether we're doing outreach or if someone comes up to our facility, let's say we have a solid facility where people can walk in for coordinated entry, because it's all online. I can be on an iPad or I can be in an office. It really doesn't matter. And we're going to go through a coordinated entry process. In that coordinated entry process, obviously the access it's a web-based system, so that's easy. I'll go through the prioritization, so you guys will see the VI SPDATs. Is everyone familiar with those? Is there anyone not familiar with a VI SPDAT or a TAE or a FBI SPDAT? So I'll show you where those are. We also have another little assessment that's called a housing preference. And so as a housing provider, I may have certain, I like to call demographics for my units. I may say this unit is only for veterans, or this unit is for wheelchair accessible people, or what have you. And so what we'll do is we'll have the clients ask or answer a housing preference, and then the system will dynamically match and show them the units or vouchers that are available for them. And then it will be up to whoever's role is to look at the whole prioritization list, which will be ordered by a VI SPDAT score, to start associating whatever units are available. So that's the first hat we're going to do. Once I assign someone or refer someone to a facility, the second hat is now I'm at this housing agency, right? And so at a housing agency, someone sent me a link or an email, or I got a message in the system that said, hey, I'm referring Joe to you. You said you had a unit available. This guy matches. Do you want to take him? And so they're going to review it, and there may be criteria that above and beyond what we've collected that may or may not allow them to be accepted in the unit. So they have the opportunity, that housing location has the opportunity to say, yes, I'm going to accept this person that's been referred to me, Or no, I remember Joe. Joe was shooting up meth. He caused a ruckus. We'll never let him in our facility. So they can accept or deny that person. If they deny them, they stay on the prioritization list. If they accept them, then they are exited automatically out of coordinated entry, and they're enrolled in this new program, and all of their information gets moved over, their case file gets moved over for this housing facility so that they can start doing regular HMIS management for them. So the third role would be then day-to-day HMIS utilization. How do we do services? How do we do case notes, group services, things of that nature? So those are the three different hats that we're going to wear during the next 2 hours. If anyone is confused, if anything doesn't make sense, please stop me, and I will try to clarify it. Is that fair? And Roland, you're monitoring the chat, right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so let's
put your M in your name.
Yeah. So the system is really dynamic in that if you do not put a username in correctly, it will not allow you to log in. So that's one of the security controls that we have in the product. Special feature. Okay, so in our product, similar to version 5, we have what are called groups. Okay, you can belong to a group, and a group has a set of pages or multiple sets of pages they may have access to. This is administrative functionality, and so for right now, the only thing that you guys need to understand is, as I logged in, I have access to 3 groups. As we get into the sandboxes, there will be end users that will only have the end user group. There will be kind of the administrative folks that will have the admin or super admin group and the user group, so they can flip through them if they want. And then there's me. I'm special. I get the Adsystech group. Yes?
So right now I have 2 logins, one for my agency, one for coordinated entry, and then 2 separate groups for coordinated entry to create resources and then manage the ISPDAT. That's all going to be condensed into one login with multiple groups, or that's going to be just stable?
Okay, so you, with CCH, you manage.
We have coordinated entry, so we have our 504 agency that Chris helped us set up, where it's one community organization. So she logs in to enter the ISPDAT, but then she also logs in as her agency to set up resources.
So you do you manage only your resources or resources for everyone that's going to make them available? Okay. So in our product, we can, through security, you can provide someone rights to be able to manage certain things. So as you log into the coordinated entry system, we can give you rights so that with that one login, you can manage the inventory. But at a certain point, when you're doing case management, once that person is accepted into your program and you're managing that client, then you need to use a login for that particular program, for the agency. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay. Just a little bit about the system. So once you log in, you get a start page. The start page allows for communication from like administrators to everyone that logs into the system. You also can do it from a local administration where you can send messages just to your agency on the start page. So an administrator can send messages out that go to everyone, and a local administrator, an agency can say, hey, this is just for my people, and you can post that up front. When you log in, here are a lot of the benefits. So what's a wonderful thing, a wonderful position I'm in right now is, even though we're going through this RFP process, I'm showing you the product that you guys will be using in about a month, maybe 6 weeks. This is what you guys are going to be using. So this is really good that you guys get a sneak peek. Also, as Roland mentioned, you guys will have an opportunity, as we always do with all of our customers, to provide input in the event that you're looking at it for the next, few weeks, and you go, oh, well, Adsystech, add this thing really quick. We can add that in before you guys go live. So.
Can I write that down real quick?
Yeah, in the sandbox, we will receive feedback.
Are you recording this?
This is being recorded. It is recorded. Yeah.
I got it.
Okay. Up across the top, we have the typical menu items. You can change your password and log off. The system automatically will log you off after a system set time period. You get a message similar to before, and it says, you have like, I don't know, 5 minutes to 2 minutes, whatever it is, to log out or what have you. Under View, you can change you can remove the navigation pane, the page information, the group information. That's basically hiding the things on the side. Roles. So the group that I logged into had access to these 3 roles. So based on your group, you have access to roles. Roles, you guys should understand in our product, the concept of roles basically changes the pages that you have available on the side, right? Okay, schedules. So you will have the ability, and I'll show this a little bit, it's similar to 5 or Resource Manager. It's the calendar functionality where you can schedule clients, you can set alerts, things of that nature. It's pretty much the same as 5 with some upgrades, you know, bells and whistles that we have in 6. This is where you'll access reports. These are our standard reports that we had, similar to 5, just with an upgrade on it. So you'll have your general reports, your ad hoc reports, and your ad hoc report designer. New to 6 will be the dashboard, which is a typical dashboard, you know, a BI type of tool, business intelligence type of tool. And so our product is our back end of our product is, we're a Microsoft shop, so we use, you know, Microsoft servers or operating systems and Microsoft databases, Microsoft reporting services. And so in their latest reporting services, they've come up with a really good dashboard that we're going to be leveraging so that you guys will be able to have that available. Ticketing system is available for the system. A little bit about us, and a new feature here would be messages. And so the messages allow you to kind of, the best way to think about it is Facebook. You know how you can send a message in Facebook, you can like type someone's name and send a little chat to them and they can reply to you, and you can send an attachment or what have you. And so I'll show that as well. Yes?
On the roll, little drop down. So this goes back to her question in that you can change to a different role without logging in and logging out.
Yes. But you can do that in 5. Yeah, you can just switch roles. But I'm in this organization, coordinated entry. And so, okay, so any questions so far? Okay, great. Okay, so in the product, it's really simple to use. We're going to go to enrollment. And as you navigate our product, actually, let's go to this role. So if I were doing coordinated entry, I put on my coordinated entry hat, this is all I need. I don't need anything else, right? I need this one page. Real simple, real easy. As I go through this page, I'm just going to go through the tabs, right? The tabs will tell me what to do. So let's say I go to a tab and I don't know what to do. I just, you know, I got this, just Beverly said, here's the URL, here's your password, good luck. Well, thanks, Bev. Well, Adsystech, we have your back. So if you notice on the top, we have functionality. There's a question mark, which is integrated help. So this will give you a step-by-step account on how to utilize the page, right? But if you don't like to read, then you can click the little video icon. And the video icon will pop up about a 1-minute video, and it will walk you through. It will walk you through how to use the page. Okay, and we'll see if this can pop up for a quick second.
I'm really pulling on my phone there.
Yeah. And I'll stop it as soon as you guys see the screen. So you guys get it, right? Right. So this one's a little longer. Some of them are shorter. Some of them are 40 seconds. Some of them are 3 minutes. But every single tab will have its unique help and its unique video. And so as you transition, and we all have to transition over to 6 because the HUD has changed the data standards, we've done this to mitigate the largest expense, which is really labor, you know, the manpower. And so this really should help. Not only that this will help, but there's a lot of similarities in 5 where it counts. So that users that use 5 should be kind of familiar, but they'll notice that everything's been streamlined, right? So for instance, here, if I need to add a new account, well, I mean, I think everyone here can figure out, you just kind of click add. That's pretty straightforward, right? And so you can enter everything, and you see the little red marks. That means those are required. And 0401, 70. And again, we have unduplicated counts. And so if a client's in here and you start entering in a client, this goes back to leveraging central intake. Eva's not even smiling. So we have that integrated in the system to help keep the unduplicated counts and leverage the records that are in here. Now, there's a big difference in 5 and 6. Notice there's no central intake, right? Right now, I'm just looking at the profile. When Roland talked about the portal, where we can allow end customers to go into a public, they go to the library, get on a computer and like register, that information can be pulled up. If I'm a homeless person, I went to a library, I used the portal, and I entered in my information, then I went to an agency and said, hey, my name is Rushton, you can start typing in the name, this information will already be in the system. And so a case manager's job would just be to make sure that the data is correct. You'd validate it and maybe make corrections as opposed to having to enter in all that information. One of the things you'll notice throughout the product is you'll see the little edit pencil. And so wherever you see that, if you need to make some changes, you can just click it, you get the little pop-up, you can make your changes, and then click save. We've integrated Google Maps, and so when you enter in your address, you can pop in the Google Maps. This is really great when we, tomorrow when we do the coordinated entry, I'll show how it works well with housing. And so if I have a match and I have like 7 houses that I'm matched to or units, I can actually click it, see the map, see the outside of the facility, and that may help me work with my client to see if this is something they want to work with. The other thing we have is general notes. So here you can see, warning, this client can be very aggressive. One of the things I wanted to note, see how I have this glow? And I know, I use some good facial scrub. I glow. But there's a reason why I'm glowing in the system, and that is to indicate to the case manager there is a message that you need to look at, right? So before we used to have the alerts, and now our alert turned to a nice little glow, and you can see that here in the message. The type is alert. So if I were to edit it, you can see, I set it up as alert. If I were to click new, you would just type this information and enter in a note, right?
Does it only glow with alerts?
It only glows with alerts, yes. So if you don't put any alerts in, they won't glow. It'll just be a regular image. The whole point of the glowing is, is for an alert.
And if there's not a picture in there, whatever the little
the silhouette
thing will still glow.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things that we've added in 6 is dictation service. And so has everyone seen the video or commercial for IBM Watson? Like, that's the real big deal. Yeah, so we're leveraging IBM Watson's dictation service. And so what's really great is if you're an outreach worker and you're out in the field and you are using a mobile device and you need to collect a note, then in the field, before you forget anything, you can go to the note page, click start talking, and it will dictate, as well as these dictation services do. This one, Roland and I were on a phone once, and we forgot we pressed it, and it was very interesting. It caught a lot. And so it works well. If there's a lot of background noise, then, but it's a really nice feature of the dictation services to be able to enter in those.
Is that the only voice to text service you've ever integrated with?
No, right now we're just doing IBM Watson. Yeah. Okay. The next tab will be contacts. And so we've organized our contacts in some major categories: emergency, medical, school, company, and then other. And so, if I wanted to add school, you just click add and you fill out the information. When you click save, it would create a record beneath it, right? And then any of these records that exist, obviously, again, you can edit, correct the information. Again, there's an address for this one. Google Docs will be in there, and so you can put in the address and it will pop up. So, you guys are familiar.
Reduces how much you have to enter for an address.
You guys are familiar with this with address.
Mm.
All right, so that's very useful. There was a comment. So let me just cancel all this out.
Suggestion: use landlord. add landlord or?
Yeah, so what we did is we added some categories. We have other. If there are major categories, that's part of the sandbox. And that's when we'll take that feedback to enter in this information.
And that's a setup.
Yeah. So that's where we'll be able to do that.
When you say that's a setup issue, does that mean that's configurable? So you could actually set that up, okay?
That's right. We just want to come out of the box with some standards. So.
Okay, so obviously contacts aren't required, but this is where you would collect it. Now we are at the point to enroll someone into a program already. So there's not this cumbersome central intake and all these places, all these tabs on central intake, and then you jump down to program entry. You simply basically enter an account profile where you only need to have first name, last name, and date of birth, 3 bits of data, and then you're ready to enroll them in an application. Okay, really streamlining the amount of effort. Again, new applications, you click add. I happen to have an application in here, which is for coordinated entry. And so this client has enrolled into my continuums coordinated entry. If I were to enroll someone, you just, the programs that you have access to, I'm in coordinated entry, that's the only one I have. The household member that's applying, these are all the household members that I already have associated. I'll show you guys that in a second. And then, basic information. Just do that and click save, and it enrolls them into the program. Okay, now, I'm sorry? Oh, I didn't save, I didn't click add. And it says, are you sure you don't want to do that?
The page.
No.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. This will catch you. Yeah, there's some places here this will catch you. Okay, so now that I have an application, it's time to bring in my households. Right now, Rushton is the only one I verified. Okay, everyone close your eyes for a second. I'm just going to undo something. Okay, you can open them. Okay, so I'm back to household members, and I will explain what I just did in a second. So here, I have the ability to either add people to someone asked about how do we manage the household. So basically, I just created an application. I have some clients that are already in there, so all I have to do is click a checkbox, and I'm putting them in my application done. Right? There's no going back to central intake and making sure everything's okay. Right here, it's done. For this particular coordinated entry, I'm not going to select anyone, but I just wanted to show you how to. Also, you can click add if someone didn't exist, and I can add an additional household member that never existed by simply entering in their information here. Yes?
That is just for this incident of entry, right? Adding those family members.
Those family members?
Part of the group that you're housing today.
Correct. Right? Yes, for that application. Now, those clients happen to be in the system, and the system knows that they were associated to me at one point, but the system doesn't know at this point in time during this enrollment, are they still involved with my family or not? So the case manager would indicate, yes, they are, or no, they're not, depending on the situation. Okay, any other questions? Yes?
So it's kind of like, you can have like a running list of people that were in the household, and
yes.
you pick the ones that you want in that particular program.
Yes.
And so, okay. And
yes.
is it easy to change that list in general? And not that you would normally, but.
So basically the way the list works is like this. So let's say I had no one in the list. It was just Rushton, right? Let's say this list was empty. To add people to the list, I'm on the household member page. I would just click add, and then I would enter in a brand new person, because let's say they're not in the system anywhere, okay? And I can continue to click add as many times as I want. Now that let's say I've added these 4 people in, and Rushton ends up going to some other program, that program, when they enroll, the system knows these other people are in the system and they were associated to Rushton. So when they go in, they don't have to click add, they just simply can click select, and they'll be there. If they did click add and typed in the same person's name, then as soon as you do the same first name, last name, and date of birth, it's going to pop up and it's going to say, Mark's here. Do you want to use him? And you just click select.
Rush, one of the comments they're asking is, please continue as I did, a great job in repeating the question.
So the question was, would the list of the household members just simply continue to grow if they were additional household members? And the answer is yes. For every person I add by clicking the add button to this particular household, they would, moving forward, always have the ability to be associated to this particular household. Yes?
If you have two separate clients who are in the system and they come into your program as a household, the way that you would search for that person to add them is through the add button. How would you search for somebody who's simply already in the system?
Oh, yeah, so the question is, how do you search for someone that is potentially already in the system? So there's a couple of ways to do it. One, let's say you don't know they're in the system, and you just go and click add, and you put in the first name, last name, and date of birth, and then it'll just pop up. They say they're there. Let's say that you know they're in the system, and you want to find them, then you can just go, I'm looking for fuzzy name Dom J, and click search, and then there's Dominique James, right? And then you just select them, and you'll go to that application.
So to add them into the household, though, if you're in Rushton, you've never been associated to a household member, and you want to, but you know that they exist in the system, would you use the household member tab and click new and search for them?
You would.
They would pop up and you'd add them.
You would, yeah. You would just click add. Here, I'll show you. Let me get back to my client. Okay, so if the person, okay, so the question is, how do you associate the person to your household if they're already in the system and you don't know? So I would just click add, and then I would type in Maria James and 04/21/1972, and then the system says, hey, I have some Marias in here, right? And then you would just select the appropriate one.
So the system will always pop up.
If the client is in the system,
yes,
and you have so one of the things I took an assumption. So the system will, the question is, so the system will always find a person that already exists in the database? And the answer is, yes, it will, as long as you entered in that client and provided the security, the rights for people to see it. And so the way our system is designed is that basic account profile information by default, everyone should be able to have accessible, unless you specifically say, this person is part of HAPWA, you know, it's HIV, AIDS, and we need to hide them from everyone. And so I'm going to explicitly say, you know, make them private. But if they're just a regular person, and they're going to tell me their first name, last name, date of birth, and their gender, and, you know, their, you know, education level, whether they're a veteran or not, that information is kind of shareable information that Colorado has decided to leverage, which is a very good thing. Any other questions? Yes.
So if someone refuses information sharing, can you have that client then be specific to just your organization?
Yes.
And the second question is, how easy is it to remove people from families? That's actually the most common request I get, is like, can you remove that person from that family?
Yes, you would. Okay, so the question is, how easy is it to remove a person from a family? And okay, well, let's just add someone to the family. So let's just show you guys. Let's add someone first. And so that's how easy it is to add someone. Pretty simple, right? But you know what? I screwed up. This person isn't part of this family for this application. And so I want someone to take a guess what I do here. Just take a look at it. Click the X. Click the X. Yes. Deleting will remove, blah, 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 blah. Do you want to proceed? Yes.
Okay, now there are two levels of removal. I'm asking a follow-up to Duncan's question.
Mm-hmm.
There are two levels of removal. You can remove somebody from an application, but still keep them in the general, I think you called it the household inventory, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if an additional household member, an apparent additional household member was incorrectly included in a household inventory to begin with.
So,
Can you remove it from
so
that?
let me ask.
That's an error.
Well, no,
correction.
she's just saying that Rushton should have never been in the household with Roland, ever, ever, ever.
So let me repeat the question, just to, the question is, what if I inadvertently add someone for an application into a particular application, so that now they become part of my household? How do I fix that? And the answer is that if that person is not in any application that is part of your household in the past, we check that first. Okay, if that is true, okay, and they are not in the current application and have received services, right? Because if any of those two things are true, then they are part of your inventory, right? They're part of the history of your household, okay? If those two, we pop up another message and we ask the question, in this case, do you want to permanently delete this person, okay? So that you can actually have that option of deleting them, or do you just want to take this person and not include it in the application? Okay? So again, what we tried to do is get rid of this household management and moving someone in and out of the household and how do I handle that and so forth. So that now is really completely eliminated as far as what you're doing. You're just focusing on this moment when who's coming in and enrolling in this application. And if you inadvertently, if someone is already in another program, okay, and in that application, but they now moved out and they need to be part of your application, because that's how we talk about it now, which is part of your household also. We automatically, as Rushton showed you, we detect it and then we link that person actually to your particular household history too, but they're receiving services under yours. So we could look at it and say, yeah, I could see this person receive services under this household. They also receive services under that household.
Okay. Okay. So remember when I said we only needed to collect first name, last name, and date of birth? So let's all put on our thinking hats so we can all imagine together. And let's imagine that's all I collected, first name, last name, and date of birth. So when I come here for the first time, this information that you see here is going to be blank. So you're simply going to come here and you're just going to click the edit button, and you're going to answer the questions. You're going to answer the questions here: household type, household size, what have you. There are two different types of questions. There are questions with a V, and this has to deal with verification rules. I'll show you guys that in a second. Then there are the asterisks, which are required. The difference is what you could leave the page with saving or not. Okay? And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete that really quick so that you can see I can save the page without a V, and we'll go back to that. Once you've saved all of the information on the household member page, the HUD requirements, which are data quality codes, are going to pop up, and you will answer these questions. These questions have logic in them, and so in some of the cases, you will only see drop-downs that make sense for what you provided. And in other cases, there are drop-downs there that we have to add because the system requires certain information, but you may answer something differently. So for example, we required you to enter in the first name, last name, and date of birth field, right? And so there may be a program, like a domestic violence program, that they don't like to put in the real first names of people. They put in like this fake name, they create some code, right? So they're using that to enter in our product. So for the data quality code, you wouldn't put full name. We still have the other drop downs, refuse or don't know or what have you, because that would be appropriate if you put a fake name in. And so that's why the system, on some of the places we have rules where you're only going to see the things that are just hard logic sense, and then the other ones have some flexibility because we understand there are certain programs that may need that type of flexibility. Does that make sense?
So it's like your outreach program that puts in a street name or
Exactly.
something, and you do the partial.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. And so I'm going to go and I'm going to delete something else again, just because I want to be incomplete right now. And I'll show you why. Okay, so after that, remember the system's simple. You just, go left to right. So the next thing we're going to do are assessments. Okay.
Can you point out one of the things that just came out of Colorado, was the do the I over the I next to the, these are all the different IDs, right? Because you guys have other IDs that you use, that you import, and so forth. So for a client, they could have multiple IDs. So what we do is we provide a place here where you can see what their different IDs are.
Okay.
So then you're specifically talking to our enhancement to take IDs from another database and associate it with
Like the
our
swipe cards and so forth, right? So now you can see for a given client,
they're called widgets. So you'll notice here on the right side, I don't know if I clicked it or not yet, but we have these little widgets that allow you to do kind of cool little features. Someone was asking about how do you search. So here's a way where you can search. This one you can search for particular application IDs. This I can pull up my case for a particular program. I can search, quick search, and I'll go list it all. As I move to different tabs, the widgets change. So there are different widgets on different tabs based on what that page is used for. And so that's available for you guys in 6. It's a really neat feature, and that's going to come into play as we start looking at a tab that I'll show you guys in a second. Okay, so now here I'm at assessments. Because we're in coordinated entry, we need to have the VI SPDAT. So here I have the F, the T, and the VI. And if I want to run it, I just click the X, or click the little plus, and it will create it. Okay? If it's already created, you'll see the little check mark. This one you can see I already created for housing. Well, let's do VI SPDAT. So this one right here, I created and did some answers for VI SPDAT. Notice it automatically does the score. And then this score next to it is an algorithm that we did. And this can be hidden or not hidden, but just so that you guys know what it is it takes an average, or there's this calculation based on if you answer more than one VI SPDAT. Sometimes someone may do a family VI SPDAT, and then later on they do an individual. And so one of our other customers they had an algorithm where they wanted to come up with this scoring mechanism for weighted average. And so that basically, this is what this back end is, weighted average. The front end is the standard VI SPDAT score. Okay. And again, like everything that you see, if I want to get rid of it, I click an X. If I want to edit it, I click the edit, and I can go through and edit. And this flag is an important flag to understand. What this flag does is it sets this particular assessment for the wait lists. So basically it says, use this assessment for the prioritization list. Because I may have a VI SPDAT, and then they come back later with the family, and now they have 2 of them. And so now which one do I want to use to put them on the score? So as the case manager, I make that decision, and I simply click the flag. It turns this green. So you can see I have another preference. And see how the score is not green? In this preference, the score is green. So this score is what's being used on the wait list. The housing preference is just a question set that we've added based on a customer of ours. This can be completely modified, which helps match the client to the units. And so here they asked, this was in Orange County in Southern California. But some of these questions may be relevant for you guys. Are you a sex offender? Have you manufactured meth? Do you have HIV and AIDS? And so what happens is a client can answer these questions. In a housing facility, when you're making your units available, you have the same question set that you answer as it relates to your units, and the system does a dynamic match. If I say these units are for HIV/AIDS, I say yes, and I say yes here, then the system knows to do these dynamic matches. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, so now once I do that, I keep going to the right, income. And so again, you'll just have the little edits. Everywhere you go in our product, you're just going to be looking for the pencils. And so you click the little pencil. This is how we've changed the income. We have a bunch of various income sources. You can click the drop down for the frequency, and you can enter in the value, and then it does the math. And then you have some options up top, which are kind of the high data standards. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple to use. Non-cash benefits, same thing. Certain fields you can enter in amounts, but basically checkboxes, and you move. If I were to have checked 6 of these checkboxes, and then I go ahead and click no or none, it automatically wipes out the other checkboxes, so you don't have to worry about unchecking everything. Just a little useful, helpful feature. Okay, next is documents. So you guys are used to documents in our product. We've changed how documents are done, and let me just uncheck this. I'll show you guys what this means in a second. And so, based on your organization, your program, specifically on your program, you can tell the system, these documents are required for my program. And so when I come to this page, it's going to automatically show me these various, it's going to say, you have to collect these 4 documents. I can have no requirements. I can have 1 document required. For coordinated entry in this demo, we have these 4 documents that are required to be collected in order for you to be on the prioritization list. That's how we set the system up. This is an administrative setup. You just call the document whatever you want, you say it's required, and you're golden. Now, notice
just a note that with each of the documents, if it's been uploaded before, okay, then, and it hasn't expired, we automatically, if you do a new application, we'll automatically provide that document and link that document. We also store those in our document inventory for that particular account and tied to that client, so that as they move throughout the system, we keep those documents, and we make sure that if they are still have not expired, we make sure that they're available and you don't have to recollect those.
Okay, so I got some notes about some garbled.
Yeah, I was going to.
That was a while back, though.
Yeah, it was a while back.
Are you guys still? Can you guys hear us okay on the phone? Chat in.
Somebody said it's been good since it's happened. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we'll keep monitoring, guys. Okay, so there's a legend, right? Not provided. So if this was just black, it would then there wouldn't be a document here. Not verified is this color, and then verified is this color. What does verified mean? So just because I upload a document doesn't mean it's the correct document. And so the system allows you to not only upload the document, but click this little checkbox that says, I'm going to verify the document to make sure, and then you can put a date to make sure it is the correct document. You will notice that it shows you how many documents are required, how many were provided, and how many are verified. Okay? So I'm going to skip this page. Now I'm going to go to verification. Yes?
So for the release of information for coordinated entry, is there the ability to do a tablet signature for the outreach and field work?
We have that capability. So the question is, would we, for instance, for outreach workers in the field, do we have the capability to use signature pads to collect that information? And the answer is yes. We use signature pads currently for medical, for what other programs? There's a few other, there's like 3 or 4 programs we use them for. But those standard little signature pads, we have those available in our product. Yes.
Along with along with the e-signature that Rushton's alluding to, we also have the ability where oftentimes in medical and some of the mental health, where you have your signature is online. It becomes part of the system, so it automatically gets applied, so that you don't have to sign each time. And you can have multiple signatures that are required, so we support up to, I think, 3 or 4 signatures. Okay, if it's required that a supervisor and so forth has to sign off for particular kinds of documents.
We do some outreach in rural areas that might not have cell service. You have the capability to enter information that can be
Uploaded later.
Uploaded later.
Yeah, this document would be a great example. And so, for instance, if you're remote, you have a phone, you can take a picture, and then you can upload that to the document location to collect it. And or if there are notes, then on certain pages where there are case notes, you can do the dictation service where you're in the, well, you couldn't do that in the field. Well, you can record on your phone a note and then upload a WAV file as well. If you have no internet access, then you have to collect that information somehow locally. Yeah.
But no standby in the database where they can be entering things, and then once you have connected somewhere, that it automatically would upload.
Yeah.
The common question that nobody has been able to say yes to.
So if you made it happen, be ahead of the game. Just think.
Yeah, so I will address one point. When I started, I did indicate that security is one of the big things that I do for our organization. And so when you're dealing with client data, in order to have that information here so I can upload it later, that means I have to have a local database. And so securing local databases on Joe's device becomes not a practical thing to do, because if Joe puts his device somewhere or it gets hacked or what have you, then that data becomes compromised. And so that's I get your point. It's not as simple as, well, let me just go over to the historic location or push it forward. There's some other ramifications. You have to think that. You have to think about security. Security, the data is not that big of a deal. You know, if someone had access to this device and got that database, then that would be much easier to do. Then it's just a matter of a local database and then pushing it out. But
we've
my
done
guess,
that before, but it's been non-sensitive data.
Yeah, my guess is that HMIS data is sensitive, and that may not be something the continuums would want to do. Just to kind of put on my security hat and, you know.
Right. I know at CCH they issue out cell phones and they encrypt them because there's been instances where case managers have taken pictures of the Social Security card, taken pictures of things that are considered sensitive, and that becomes an issue.
We've even had to start training on the paper documentation in the spring for the BI SPDAS and others that outreach workers go out with, because we had an incident of a backpack being stolen. And I know some case managers I've seen with the ones that lock, which still isn't. But we're saying, like, keep it on your person if this happens, and trying to do training on that, because that still is our data. It's just not entered in yet, but folks' information's on it.
So the question was there an ability to collect data locally without internet access and then push it up at once you had internet access? And so the short answer is yes, that's possible. But the longer answer is that there are security ramifications on storing that client data locally, which may not be in line with HUD requirements or at minimum the continuum of care requirements. Okay, so back to this. We got about an hour and 20 left, and I still have a lot to go over. So let's continue forward. All right, so I mentioned that I wanted to hide some things and I was deleting some things because I wanted to show you guys something. And what I want to show you is our verification tab. And so throughout the product, especially like on that household member page where I had all those Ds, where I can save and not collect everything that's potentially required. Same thing with the assessments. The assessment may have some requirements, and I may not save them all initially because we received feedback from lots of users that they didn't want to be forced to collect everything right then and there. They wanted to be able to kind of pause and then collect it, and then kind of do it as they got it. So we go, okay, that's fine, that's reasonable. We need to be able to accommodate that. And so the way we accommodated it is on those pages, we laxed the save button. So on that page, it says this is required, but you don't have to fill it out. You can still click save. Now I'm on a verification page. I'm prepping to, since we're in coordinated entry, I'm prepping to get them on a prioritization list. If I were doing HMIS, and when we get into HMIS, you're going to see basically the exact same tabs. And then you're going to see more tree nodes, which have like case nodes and services and some other goodies. But it's the same process. Once I get to this point, I'm either going to be prepared to say that this application is now ready for me to start collecting services, or this application is now ready for me to put them on the prioritization list. I've collected everything that I'm required to collect. And so how do I know that I've collected everything that I'm required to collect? I go down here and I click the verify button. And then I get this message. And I go, wait a second, what's going on here? Well, this right here, I have a failure. The document needed to be verified. Remember those documents that were green and I made one not verified? This one right here, it said it failed again. I needed the address quality code. Remember, I was like, let me delete this really quick. And so the system, these rules can be created locally. And whatever the rules are, we can do checks on anything that we've collected to ensure that everything at the time you're ready to really proceed with this application is all verified and collected correctly. And we did that in the method so that the case manager has all the flexibility in the world to stop whenever they want it. They got a phone call, they spilled coffee, you know, there was a fire alarm, whatever it is, they just stopped and then they came back until they got to where they needed to be, then they verified. So now that I'm not ready.
Some of those also were stopped, which means you can't go forward. Others were warning. So you can have a set of messages that say this is a warning, like the document was only a warning. It wasn't an absolute stop to prevent from service to be delivered.
Okay, so widgets, remember I mentioned the widgets? So now my little widget's here. And the widget is the verification list. It shows me really quick what I forgot to do. And so we have hyperlinks that will take me right over there, and it goes, oh, you didn't do something on the documents page. Okay, so let me go, I forgot to do this, right? So let's save that. So now that's verified. And so I can go here and I can do the check again. Or since I know I did that, I can just quickly jump over here, right? So I can go to the household members, right? And I didn't collect some information here. And so I think it was disabling condition. I think that was it. We'll find out when I verify again. And there was this. So let's do those two. And I'm going to go back to the verification tab, and I'm going to see if I can re-verify. Now it says I can complete it. Now, one of the things as of note, I don't know if you guys remembered, it said request exemption before, right? So there are times where you're just not going to get everything for whatever reason. You can request an exemption from your supervisor to move forward. By clicking that, there's another page which will give you a list of exemptions, and then whoever's responsible for authorizing those exemptions can see what it is and then click a button and say, I'm authorizing the exemption. This particular client, it's okay, I understand the scenario, you didn't collect it, but generally speaking, our program says you have to collect X, Y, and Z. Does that make sense? Okay, so it gives a lot of flexibility for the case manager, but also a lot of oversight from an organizational standpoint to ensure they're managing to the best of their ability. Okay, now that this person's verified, oh, yeah, I didn't. So you have to click the button. Once you click the button, you get this little lock. Now, once I get this lock, I verified it. I'm locking down the information I collected. So if I go back to the assessment, my little edit button is no longer here. And if I go to any of those other pages, my edit buttons, they're gone because when I verified, I said, I checked this, it is correct, done deal. Now, if I made a mistake and I really need to go back, and this right here, this button can be set so that only the right people have it, but I can uncheck it and then I can go back and then I'll have the little, you know, exit whatever the buttons I need.
I think it's important to, what we wanted to do was manage, because at the time when you uncheck it, we do not allow you to provide any more services until you once again verify. So there'll never be a point in which services were delivered and it was not verified.
Correct.
So that you are assured that the information that was captured was in complete compliance with the services that are being delivered.
And this could be managed, I mean, it's up to you, the groups, to figure out how you want to manage it. A case manager can have it available for them, or you can have a special person that does all the verification. That may be a little extra work. I think a case manager should have it, but obviously you guys can control that. Okay, so now this client has been verified. Let's go to unit selection. Notice automatically, I already got some exact matches. Why does it still say, oh, I didn't click the button. I didn't, someone asked, why does it still say verify? And so I didn't run the little check, or, yeah. Why does it still say failed after connected? Corrected.
It's just that document.
There's one.
I don't know. I got locked up. Is your phone still on, Roland?
Or there was one when you
Hold on.
verified, it still showed that warning rather than a
Here,
stop.
let me, no, it's, hold on. Let me reset it. You lost the internet.
Yeah. The internet's poor in the.
Ready? Well, we got off of the internet here to use Roland's phone because it was that bad. Is it good now, Roland?
Yeah, are you back on?
I don't know. Let me see. Yeah, it looks like it's loaded.
Okay. All right. Let me look at my,
It's going slow. It was on your phone. Yeah, it was.
hold on, let me do this. Just go completely out, Russ, and see, hold on.
And
Bathroom
yes.
break.
Okay, so we're going to take a little 5-minute bathroom break, and then when we get back, we're going to quickly go over the evaluation form and finish up coordinated entry portion, and then get into the HMIS portion. And I'll leave the meeting running.
Must be Verizon.
I tried now, Russ. I don't see you connected.
Yeah, I got it.
Anybody's doing anything? Make sure they know.
Oh, good, I'll keep that. Trip home. I'm gonna take a break. Yeah, right? We did a quick 5-minute yoga.
You know it's bad when you come into the room and start all up.
Yeah, right?
No, this is a Simpson go.
She was from the middle.
No, but I was on operating. But it's okay. Mine was stuck on a screen that has when it's restarting.
Just make sure Conrad's not doing anything. This is on yours, so it should be.
Not mine. Development.
Yeah, but it's the,
And it'll stop. Just giving the same reset, like hard reset menu.
Conrad, you're not doing anything on the UAT, right?
Maybe.
I can't take the battery out. The hard reset, solid metal case, so the battery.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's problematic.
I'll just make sure that too, right?
Okay.
But I think it was my hotspot, because I lost the...
We'll figure it out. But it's like this is not.
No, you can't get to the site.
It's taking forever.
You can turn it off.
Simon, you're not on the UAT site, right? Okay, because you're right now.
What happened?
No, he's not. I'll just have him reset it just to make sure.
I'm waiting for a call from an insurance executive to tell me how much of that go ahead and
Is it connected now or is it still? Well, you can't right now, Rush, on my thing, because I'm on the phone. It doesn't do both.
Oh, really? Because it's stabled out.
It only, yeah, I don't have that. You gotta wait till you go.
So like if I tell it to restart, it just reboot itself.
And you check the, make sure the site.
I tried all this, I tried factory reset.
Right now, we're trying to get back in,
Trying to factory reset.
and it's not going to log in.
So it was a lock.
I'm gonna leave it on.
Right now, it's just saying when you're trying to log in. Huh? Yeah. Okay, the login page is suspended.
So
See if something.
maybe it's because somehow it was locked, which I don't know how I would unlock it. And it's a security one, like maybe it's not restarting locked. But there's no like clear way to unlock it. There's no, like, I've done I've explored that menu. So you can scroll up and down with the volume button. Right on the side, down with the volume button. And then the top button is the left. And I've run through so many of those things. Good luck.
So you guys are doing Google Docs right now?
We're doing Google Docs and HomeLink. So we have our veteran data in HomeLink, which is going away. So, yeah. So for the documents, so we were inside of the coordinated entry program, right? Or application or whatever it's called. And I know you said that if there's documents that a client has and then they have to enroll in another program or something, that can be accessed. But is there somewhere like just at like the client profile level that you could see what documents are there?
You have to be involved in that client somehow, some way.
Okay.
You can't just go look up Joe and start seeing all kind of documents, right? But if to be involved with them, they're enrolled in something that you are offering. And so if you enroll them in something that you're offering, then you have that kind of accessibility to their documents. If you're not, if they're not enrolled in your program, the security doesn't allow you to, we don't want to just share that with everybody. So that's how it currently works. And then the documents. Sorry?
Even for releases, like it's not. What the heck did I?
Yeah, even for releases, because you still need to be engaged with that client. The premise is, if you're engaged with that client and you're working with that client regularly,
right?
Which means you created an application for them, and if you've done that, then you have access to everything.
What about on the reporting side? Are there any reports that show document status? Or is there a way to build an app?
Yeah, that would be really easy to build. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I don't know if they did. They should have. There's a report for verification.
Okay.
So like the verification rules, which would indicate that was missing or something. Not something just directly on the documents, but that you would want to look at like a verification report.
Well, we did one for.
There's also a coordinated entry listing report that will show the prioritization list, their scores.
And I'm assuming you guys are going to go all into that, like tomorrow.
Yeah, a little bit more deep. Yeah.
We don't know where the connection is lost here between you guys.
They got it rolling or what?
Start. Try it.
I know currently you do have documents that to a certain security level. You have like a release of information that's set to everything.
We've now kind of changed the dynamic so that if you have access to that client, you should be able to see their documents. So if you're engaged with them,
so that they have to be in your program.
Yes.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Or you cannot see.
If you're not in their program, you don't want just anyone pulling up anybody seeing their documents.
They're social.
Right.
Something.
Yeah, but if that client's working with me, they're enrolled in my agency. Well, then now I want to.
But what about the ability to see just that you have that document? That's really what it is, So
without being engaged in them.
Yeah, because you aren't necessarily engaged in terms of having somebody in your program when you're trying to figure out the situation. Or maybe you're just trying to find them. And
Well, see,
only release of information.
oh, for sure on the release.
That's where my sim garden,
We're probably, I think what it's gonna come down to is when we do the statewide, we may need a release of information on everybody that's walking.
that's the actual, like,
And so.
that would be easier to do in a report, though. If you're looking at something like that, right?
Well, but just to be able to search for that client and see that there's a release of information.
Go to the account.
Not necessarily download.
I actually hope you can factor reset the screen battery faster, so that's the next thing is let the battery die.
There is a place right now where well, my account, whatever, we have the, like, he's going to Rush James right now.
I pushed it overnight.
The, service history. So there's right now stuff that we have, that when you pop that up, you can see all the services that were provided, payments that were delivered. In there, we could also provide, because we have the inventory of all the documents.
So what service history can you see?
Whether or not you want to.
Is this, I'm sorry, are we still inside of the coordinated entry?
Yeah, but I'm seeing service history from another program that this client is in.
Oh, you are, okay. So that can
So
be
here,
set by security level or something.
Yeah, see this program right here? This is MCY, which is a Mercy House SSVS program.
Okay.
And so they had, I don't know, transportation service, childcare, whatever.
So you can see the history of all the services that were delivered.
Okay.
Okay, so let's get started again, or let's get back.
Yeah, and let's kind of, since we're like running, you know, tight on time, if we can maybe keep the questions to the end.
Well, except for right now, because I have questions. Right now it's time to go over the eval sheet. And so Roland's checking for everyone for chats. So everyone should have their overall demonstration evaluation. And let's just go over these. And again, what I need to understand is if there's a reason why it's not excellent, tell me, and then I will delve into further how we do whatever it is, because I'm pretty sure it should be. So software supports multiple browsers open simultaneously. So that's one browser, and here's another browser. I don't know if I showed this, but here, I'll just show it. Do I really need to log in? I will if I have to.
We can use Chrome, that would be great.
This is Chrome, and the other one was Edge. So those are two,
I would really like
and I'm going to go in the exact same group as well.
Both browsers at the same time.
And you can still use Explorer, right?
Somebody have a question on the phone? I thought we were meeting.
No, I gotta, if you have a question, please, I think that's across. Everyone else is muted. Yeah, it's crosstalk. Okay, so here are the two, open at the same time, right? Do I need to pull in the same client, or is this good enough? Is this good enough for excellent?
One was Chrome and one was another browser?
Yes.
Edge.
Should they both be Chrome?
Yes? What, you want like tabs?
Yeah, see that too.
We can't have access to that.
Oh, you have to have, for version 5, you have to have Chrome 4.41 or lower.
Oh, that's probably why.
Yeah. All right, so is this good, or do I need to keep typing? Okay, yeah, because I don't want to.
Internet Explorer, could you still use Internet Explorer?
No, Microsoft doesn't support
Security.
Yeah, because of security. So you have to use Microsoft's new browser, which is Edge.
We have that even with the HUD websites when you go to access it,
Yeah.
it'll show it's now not a.
Yeah. Microsoft is discontinuing that product. So Internet Explorer, Firefox, Safari, Chrome, and then Safari on here.
On Apple.
Yeah, and I don't want to, here, this, you guys want me to type it in, I'll type it in. It's there.
Does that also mean you guys are moving away from Silverlight?
Silverlight's gone. Yeah, Silverlight's gone. Here, Roland, log in and pass it around. Okay, so the second one, the screen layout is clear and easy to interpret, yada, yada, yada. Is there any reason that's not excellent to anyone? especially with our helps on every single tab, the videos on every single tab. Everything now says basically add. Let's see, is there an evaluation form we're supposed to be filling out? Yes, Rebecca, but I'll fill one out for you.
Yeah, that's not one of mine, but if they got when they got the information for the webinar, it's at the bottom of that information.
Rebecca, look at the bottom of the information for the webinar. It should be there.
It's a SurveyMonkey link.
SurveyMonkey link. And when you get to it, the easiest thing is just click excellent, because we're going to go through them all. All right, any questions with with that one? Anyone?
With the
User interface friendliness? Is there any reason why someone would not? That's basically what I'm getting to. Because if there isn't, I'll explain more why. Okay. The VI Spinats, it says all versions are available. We saw them all, right?
I did have a question about that. You
Yes.
had clicked to make the one appear on the by name list.
Yes.
If you already had one checked and you go to check
You can do
another
multiple
one, does
times.
it flip, or does it allow more than one
You can have more than one.
to be checked? Okay, so you
No,
just
wait. More than one to be checked, which means generated.
Right, you can have more than one generated,
Yes.
but only one that's populating.
One for the wait list. Yes.
Because you have to
That's what I meant.
Right. Yeah, you
can
designate.
flip it if there's a new one and
Yes.
you want that to be it, then it'll remove that linking on.
You want me to show you?
Yes.
Okay. So let's unverify me, because remember, verification lock. So the question is, can I have more than one assessment BI Spadat? So I'm going to unlock the verification, because the verification locks our records, right? So once I do that, I can go to assessment. I'm going to click. So right now we just have these two. See the little check boxes? This one, and then if I click this one, that one. There's no VI Spadat here, but I click the little plus and create, and it will generate another one. But this one doesn't have the flag on it, right? This one's black, and this one is green. If I were to click the little flag, or if you noticed when I clicked the button, I got the pop-up, it said for waitlist, I could check that checkbox. It does the same thing. It would use this for the scoring, which we barely got to, but I'll show you guys a little bit more.
Is it possible to add community-based questions to the VI Spinats, or do you have to add as like separate type of survey?
So I guess that would be something for us to, so is it possible? Yes. Does it make sense? I don't know. That would be something to discuss. So, because for instance, for coordinated entry, the VI Spadat is for the score. The housing preference is to assist with the matching.
With eligibility.
Yes, exactly. So I guess the question is, what other information are you trying to collect? And then we would just have to figure out what makes the best place to put it. It could be a third assessment. It could be adding it to the VI Spadat. Notice that on our assessments, we have one page here, but we can do 2 pages and 3 pages and 4. And so those could be your questions. You know, there's just various ways to do it. So the easy answer is yes. Yes, question in the back.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. So I'm imagining that there are instances when you do the stat for a client who has accessed our program and you may not have all the documents that we would potentially need to verify their program eligibility for a program that you may be referring to. Is that person still able to be seen from a coordinated entry by name list perspective, or do they have to have those documents to verify their eligibility before we get them into coordinated entry?
So the question is, what if you do not have the complete information that you're collecting for the VI Spadat and or maybe additional assessments?
Or documents.
How does that affect the client's ability to be on the prioritization list? And so the short answer is we can change the verification rules based on what you guys want. So if you say there's no verification, you don't care if they answer them all or not, then the verification, you'll be able to verify them because they didn't answer them, or you can verify it and do an exception and then put them on the list. The way the system works is the verification is the stopgap, but you control the stopgap. So you can put nothing there. You don't even have to have something there. or you could put everything there. But it is the stopgap which you utilize for the prioritization list. Does that make sense? And then there's also the ability, let's say you want to have a threshold of a stopgap. You go, it makes sense, like for instance, the way we have it set up right now. But there's this one client that you go, no, this client, we need to get them on the list. We don't have everything. They need to be on the list. That's why we have the exemption request. So then you just say, we're putting an exemption on this guy or girl, and we're putting them on the list. They're going to be on the prioritization list, and that's it. And so the system has the ability to distinguish someone that went through an abnormal process, and you'll be able to put in notes to say why you did that, so that we can have an accountability of how that occurs. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, so scoring tools, they're all there, so we're good with that, right?
Can you show us, please?
There's the F. This is the VI, and you want me to generate this one as well, the T? Okay. There's the T.
And where's the score?
It hasn't been done.
I got to fill it in, yeah.
Somebody on the phone had asked if there was one for unaccompanied youth. That's what the TAY is. So that's transition age youth is what TAY stands for.
So the score comes up on the assessment tab, but not in the account profile tab, right?
The score comes up in the assessment, and then when we get to units, when you actually need the score on the prioritization list, I haven't showed that to you guys yet, but that's where you really need it, because the whole point of the score is to put them in order, right? So I'll show you guys that in a second. I just want to check some of the stuff off. So do you want to put a pin on? Well, you see all the scoring tools, they exist. So is everyone okay with that? Okay. The BI for that score is visible on the client screen, on the search screen. So it's, someone had a question, Roland, but
yeah.
So you guys see the score, right? It's visible. And then I'm going to show you somewhere else where it's extremely visible. So is everyone okay there, or do you want me to show you this somewhere else really quick?
I actually have a question, because I think part of that's based off of our customization, where we had you guys added in client intake, which now, of course, there's not a client intake.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess my follow-up is, you said when they're attached to a resource or something that the VI SPDAT assessment then is also provided to the agency that's accepting them. Is that correct?
Yes.
It transfers over, so they'll have access to that too, instead of trying to look on the client page. I think that's where the issue was.
Yeah, they'll have that. They'll have not only the score, but the entire assessment. Yeah.
Okay.
So I just really quickly, just so that, because we're going through some of this VI SPDAT stuff, I went back to the unit selection page where the system dynamically shows the match. So this client has exact matches for these vouchers. And when we go to coordinated entry deeper tomorrow, I'm going to even show you units, and I'll show you a map, how you can pop it up and all that good stuff. But you can see that they're there. You can see this is the applicant's answer for the preference, and the voucher actually had no match, no preferences. That's why there was a match. It said it didn't really matter. Here on the side, there's a roster widget. And I just click search. And so here's the VI SPDAT score in order for all the clients. And so I can just scroll through and go client by client by client. I can just click locate, and it'll just go to that client. And when I go to that client, it will show me automatically the housing units for that particular client. So if my job was to, let's say I was part of coordinated entry, and I had other people working with individuals, and they were just getting them on the list, you know, they were getting them on the list, and my job was to take that list and to start referring housing to this. Let's say I did it at the end of the evening every day, or I did it once a week Friday, whenever I did it. Let's say it's every day at 3 o'clock, I go, I'm taking the prioritization list, and I'm going to start distributing housing. That's what we decided to do. I would come here, I would only go to unit selection, because everything else is in the system. I would pull up my roster, I would click search and get everyone, and then I would start at the top, and I go, okay, who's my most vulnerable person? This person is. Click locate, I would see the units available, and then I would select a unit, and I would submit that unit for referral, right? So back to this, the BI-SPDAT score is visible on the screen, it's visible on the assessment, and more importantly, it's visible on the roster. So everyone gets that for the visibility?
So, but you have the roster because you have like super secret access or something? Like you're Joe Case Manager in Rushton James's profile. How come you have access to that roster with all those names?
Because HUD's requirement is to coordinate.
Oh yeah, no, I get all that. That's cool. Okay. I'm just talking about your role.
It's you mentioned the 3 different hats that you have, but your special role.
Yeah. So like if let's say that I'm like Susie Case Manager at like outreach worker or whatever.
You wouldn't see it.
Yeah. So that's but I'm confused because you were in the middle of Rushton James's application and then you clicked on roster. So
right now I have a coordinated entry hat on. Okay, and I've just been collecting information. I'm an outreach worker for coordinated entry, or I'm an intake specialist for coordinated entry. I've been collecting people, doing an assessment, and my whole job is to do a BI-SPDAT so I can get them on a list, a prioritization list.
Yep.
All right. Now, let's shelf that because we've done all of that. We've got to the point where I verified that person's on the list. Okay. So now, that same employee or another employee may be responsible for now matching this client to housing. That's something that you guys make a decision and you simply give them rights to this page or not. That's something that you guys can control. So if my job is to start matching the housing, then I would have access to this unit selection page, which means I would have the roster widget, which would give me the list of everyone on the prioritization page, and then I can just start dishing out housing units. Does that make sense?
It doesn't make sense to me that it's on one client. Like
I'm not on a client, so forget this. Forget this.
Are, right?
Well, because I'm on.
You have the ability to set up roles however you want in the system.
Yeah.
I'm on a client because you have to select. So here, this person has a 17. I want to see. Let's locate him.
Okay.
And now, if the internet catches up, now it's going to show me what he has available. Now the system did a match. It said, all right, Dominique, what do you have available? And it says this is what his matches are. And so I'm going to submit something for housing for him. And then I'm going to go now back to the roster and I'm going to select someone else. And I'm going to go, okay, who's the next person in line? Let's see if there's any housing for them. And so this person's job could potentially only be that one little tab, if that's all they do. Yeah, I don't know what,
But like those widgets that are there right now, so the application list one, that's all the applications for that particular client that you're in right now? No.
This is for all the applications that, because I logged into the coordinated entry program.
Yes.
Then anyone that's enrolled in coordinated entry, I'd be able to pull their applications.
I see.
Right?
Okay.
Because I'm part of that group. And so I need to be able to have accessibility to anyone that's in coordinated entry, because if my job is to do the matching, to look at all of the available housing and then start referring to the housing based on their prioritization, I have to have access to those applications. And if I have access to that application, I may want to have access to everything because I may want to look at it. If my role is just to do the referrals, I may want to actually go all the way to the assessment and review it for some reason. Or I may want to review the documents, or whatever it is, I may want to have access to that. So when you create the roles, you can create the roles to have access to everything, or you can create a role where they don't have access to everything.
Okay.
All right, the request is, can we not focus so much on coordinated entry since we'll be doing it tomorrow and get to the HMIS?
Well, I will try. I just want to make sure that you guys have coordinated entry on this evaluation list, and so I need to make sure that we check that off. So the next item is, we'll skip for right now, it's the reporting. Next page, document management. So documents, photos, and stuff can be uploaded. Anyone have any problems with that? Okay, that one should be excellent. Entering data, it's easy to complete a program entry, update records, create assessments. I'll show you guys the exit. I think we're on the verge of excellent there. Yes?
I don't remember seeing annual assessments.
Okay, so we'll put a pin on this one. We'll put a pin on outcome measures. I'll go to that. Communication, security report. Okay, so we'll put a pin on the rest. So we'll move forward. System, that's done, scoring. So the first page should be done, right, everyone? Okay, so let's get now to regular HMIS. And so hold on, let me get back to my client. Go back to Rushton, here he is. Okay, now, let's see. Okay, let's switch. Let me completely log out. I'm going to log into a completely different agency right now. Okay, so now this is a completely different organization. They have roles. I made the roles similar names just for consistency. And I'm going to log in. Now notice role, there's different pages, right? This one kind of looks a little bit more similar to the HMIS stuff. I have more roles. Some of this stuff we're going to get into on later sessions, like the admin stuff when we go to system configuration and administration and program setup, things of that nature. This role, I'll use this role. Use a smaller role. Okay, so we'll just use a smaller role and just focus on HMIS. Okay, so now let's say this client is in the system and we are going to enroll them into our program and we're going to start doing case notes on them and services and assessments and the HUD questions and eventually exit them out of the program, right? Okay, so just like we did in coordinated entry, I would click add and enter in the name. But if they already existed, I can search for them and find them. So now this client's already here, that's great. Contacts, all the contact information is already there, so I don't have to worry about that, right? So now we're in applications. Now this particular client already has some applications. They have an SSVF application, and they have a PATH application, right? If I wanted to create a new application, just like I did in coordinated entry, I would click add. I would click the program list and I'd enroll them in HOPWA or Runaway Homeless Youth or, you know, my Santa Ana Permanent Supportive Housing Shelter, what have you. And an application would be created. Let's do PATH first. So right now, assume that they've been enrolled in PATH, just like we did the other way. All of this, I'm going to go really quick because it's the exact same thing as coordinated entry. Nothing really changes. Here, household members, they actually have a whole household in there. We click the select and add those people for this particular household. Assessments. So here's the HUD question set. So you'll notice that items in red are required fields, right? You'll notice that there are multiple tabs on the bottom in the event that I had additional information. This SOAR question is specifically for PATH. And so when you do your program setup, there's certain HUD program types that correlate to the HUD data standards. And so our system now dynamically matches the question set, and it'll put those other types of questions on separate tabs so that you're entering in, you're minimizing the data entry, and the data that you enter is as it relates to the requirements by HUD. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. So I'm not gonna take the time and answer that, but you guys get how that is. We have a case plan, and I'm gonna pop into another application to show you that. But right now, it's just another assessment, and there's a different set of questions with requirements. This one will, when we show it to you, it's going to show how you can manage outcomes for a client. So let's just put a pin in that because you guys asked about outcomes. but since we're on this page, I just wanted to show you how you can do multiple assessments. Based on the program setup, this is just like the other page when I had the SSVF and the pay and the housing preference. So in your program setup, you can create any question sets that you want for your organization, and those would show up here when you enroll the client. Does that make sense? Okay. And then the question sets, like before, they have logic, so that if you answer something, questions will automatically hide, and it will jump automatically to the next appropriate question. If you're a female, or if you're a male, the question like, are you pregnant, will never show up. So there's all that logic built in the system still, so that you're minimizing the information that you need to collect for your clients. Income's the same. It's just that there's more people that you collect it for. Here you can see that they have the monthly income, quarterly, yearly, poverty levels, AMI, those things you guys should be familiar with. The system dynamically generates that. Documents again, and let's just, you guys remember how this works. Am I verified? In the verification page. Let's go verify. Okay, so I'm going to do an exemption request really quick so that you guys can see that. And so I didn't have a document, or I didn't verify a document. So I sent a request, right? I'm going to switch roles to a role that actually, so now I'm going to switch hats. I'm the exemption person. So they have this new page right here called exemptions. And they can go to the listings, and they can see that here's the request. I'll get to you in a second, David. And I can go and, there's two of them. And so I can go and approve it, and I can say why I approved it and when I approved it. And so this is, and this goes back to that, the documents you were asking before. Anything that door, the verification door, blocks, if you want to bypass it, then you just do the exemption request, and you go ahead and save it. And so now this particular client, and we'll go back to the role that we were at. Are we on that? What role are we on? Yeah, we're on this role. So this particular client now will be verified, so we can do services. Does that make sense? Okay, so now we just go down to the services. Now remember, we have widgets on the side, right? So there's the SSVF program, and this is the PATH program, right? So we'll just switch to the SSVF. I have more services here. So as you enter in services, HUD has, in their data standards, set up certain services for certain program types, and they've kind of organized it. And so by default, our product, when you say you're a PATH program or an SSVF program or what have you, the services will be automatically generated in categories. So here I can do, for instance, this is a category for SSVF, obtaining VA benefits. And so if I click add, these are the services underneath that category that I can provide. So I can quickly just click a check mark, put in the date or what have you, and click save. And now those services have been collected for that client. And so we've really streamlined how services can be collected, and they can be collected pretty easily and pretty rapidly. Okay? So that's services. Case notes, pretty straightforward. You click the add button. You fill out the proper information. We have the dictation service here again, and you go ahead and click save, and your note will be generated here. And you can have one or multiple notes. It's pretty straightforward. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Good eye, Beth. So on case notes, we also allow on the bottom, if you're just typing in a note or you're dictating a note, you can quickly check boxes on services you provided. Let's say you do notes once a week, and then you go, oh, we provided these services. You can just check them off. And so not only can you do case notes, but you can do case notes and services simultaneously to minimize the burden for the case manager.
Do you have the ability to print for a certain time frame for case notes and services that are attached to them?
Yes, yes. We'll go over that more detail in the reporting, but there's a little icon, and these icons are everywhere, and so there's certain application reports per pages, and you can generate it, and it can do you know, notes for a window, or you could do management reports for a program, you know, things of that nature.
How about the ability to upload PDF documents and Word documents into case notes? And the ability to attach.
Yeah, all of our documents are managed in the documents area, and so that's where the repository for documents would go.
So hypothetically, I wouldn't be able to do a search for a case notes and have documents attached to it.
To the specific case note?
I mean,
That's something we
sandbox.
That's something we can add in the sandbox area if that's a major concern.
I'd like, if I had the ability to view the feature, that would be.
Okay, so yeah, right now, if you're gonna for documents, so the question is, can you add a document to a case note? And right now in this demo, what we have set up is the ability to add as many documents as you want in the document section. Our product has, we have modules that do full-on document management. So kind of, this is the base.
The reason why I asked is because for some reason, we seem to encounter this scenario where managers out in the field or whatever, and we're doing handwritten notes, and then to have to handwrite a note, and then to write it in text and copy paste. It would just be so much easier if I could just slap it on the scanner and send it in as paste.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens.
Yeah, it's something we can totally look into, or in the field you can use the dictation service, and it would write it directly.
Thinking of my older kids.
Okay.
So, adding attachments would not be.
Okay. So those are case notes, and let's go services and swipe cards really quick. How am I doing on time? 35 minutes. Okay, so let's see if I have anything in here. If I select the program, see if I have anything in here. Okay, perfect. Okay, so if I were to do group services, I can simply go here. I have a list for beds, showers, and meals. Here's a list of people, and I can provide by just providing it, clicking a check mark. So I could do one or all or what have you. I also have the ability to do reservations, and I can do reservations in the future. And so if there's a particular service that makes sense that I want to reserve this for a client in the future, I can also do the reservations for that.
Notice the one that he's on. You see the alert? Because that was the alert on the notes. Remember we talked about earlier on? So it's showing up to let you know that that person has whatever the concerns are and so forth.
Now, this particular group services page integrates into our upgraded swipe card page. And so our upgraded swipe card page has a functionality here where you just you turn it to the swipe mode and you click start. I had my little scanner with me. I can go and scan. You guys seen the cards, right? Like these little cards. Let me show on the screen for everyone else. I think I have a card. Here's a card. So you can print out cards like this. What I can't show anyone in the GoToMeeting, but I will show everyone here, is there is an app that you guys can get on your phone called Barcode Scanner. I don't know if this is still connected to your phone. But basically, this little thing would have a camera on it, and you just put the camera over it. You have to be on the same Wi-Fi or same network as your laptop, and then you could just scan the cards with a phone. And it's because it's on Wi-Fi, you aren't tethered to the laptop. So I could be as far as I have internet access, on the same network as the laptop. You turn it on scan mode, and then you can just go scan away.
And as you're scanning, it shows you that it's successfully scanned.
Yeah, and you'll hear the little.
And if you get to one that's an alert, it gives you a different kind of noise.
Yeah, that noise is.
Noise lets you know.
Yeah, it's pretty loud.
The other thing is that unlike in the version 5, if you have multiple people scanning in at a particular location, it does share it in version 6, so you don't have to have separate components for each of those. Okay, so all of those things are considered. You also have the program entry rules, determine whether or not someone could enter, will automatically enroll them in and then provide those services.
Do you have any type of an alert? We've encountered an issue, like especially when you're doing bed nights or something, scanning, where a lot of organizations, nonprofits, have volunteers helping them. So we've set up like a role where all they're doing is scanning folks in. They're not seeing any of the demographic information or anything, which then has proven difficult for the alerts, which I see you have the alerts up there. But is there anything, if there's a certain type of alert that would stop it from actually scanning it in? Like, does it alert
every single alert stops the swiping process, and you need to
manually
say, I'm okay with this alert. Yeah.
The other thing, and I see there's a question in the back real quick, but the other thing is that unlike in 5, if there's a household, a family in the application, they have 3 people, when you swipe it for the one, it automatically will include all 3 of them, so that you don't have to go through each one individually, and then you can automatically say, well, exclude this particular one, they're not here tonight. So it makes it so that they don't have to do as many of these mini swipes in order to include the household. So all of those things are built into it. Those 2 questions.
Yeah, so the question from David is health insurance asked in the household members tab and the income tab. Is there logic to populate the answers for questions that are repeated? So HUD has, so I guess he's asking, HUD has their non-cash benefit requirements, and then our standard product has the medical question. And so the medical question one could be marked as just not required or hidden, because the HUD ones are the ones that you really want to collect. Those are the ones that are required, which is on the income tab. The second question is the system automatically saving this information, or do you have to close something else? No, and I guess the question is the system automatically collecting the group services information? And yes, as soon as I click the check mark, it is stored, and that's it. I'm done. Do you have some sort of communication space or places like, for places like homeless shelters to communicate about clients through? I'll show that in a second. Matter of fact, I'll show that right now. Well, I'll show that in a second. Let's see, is there any other questions? If I can still sign up for the other sandboxes, can I get a link? Because, so Beverly or Eva, Jennifer Jones, you guys should be able to just respond. They'll respond to you. Okay, so let's see if I have one here. Hopefully I have one here. Which program is it? Let's see if we have one. Please, good. Okay, so someone asked about annual assessments, and so I have it set up here. So let's just kind of cancel. Let's show you guys where I'm at. So we have this household history page. When you go to the household history, you go to this summary, shows you the summary of the enrollment. Think of it as a snapshot at program entry. You guys kind of remember that concept. I already began an exit process, but I can click add. Before I started the exit process, you can click add. I did add for an annual assessment, and it generates this. Once I click add, I can go into the details, and I can look at the detailed information for this particular assessment. It's kind of like a snapshot, think of it that way. So here I can modify the demographics if necessary for that point in time. I can modify the income and non-cash benefits, and I generated the annual assessment question. I don't know if you guys saw when I clicked the little plus, but I generated it, and since it's here, I can't generate it again, but then I can go and answer the annual assessment, right? For this particular program site, that's all they have. So for, what program am I in? SSVF? So for SSVF, that's the only question they have. Based on the program setup, our system, HUD has basically a matrix of what questions are required for your annual assessment. And so in your setup, we dynamically create the appropriate question set. So you'll just go there and answer the questions. For exiting a client, I began the exit process. And so you see the little exit in here, I can do the snapshots for the exit. If I had a question set for at exit, I can generate that at that point in time.
How much of the data that's already been into that client auto-populates?
Everything that you see is auto-populated. So all I'm doing is modifying anything that is for this point in time. So I would just, you click the little edit button and you go, oh no, at exit their income changed, and I make a little modification. So then I can just exit them. It wants me to select the location, the exit date, which is going to be today, the destination, and an address. It's going to be if the Google Maps do not collect an address, sometimes there's weird addresses, you can go in here and enter in the information. And so notice I put in the zip and it automatically does the city and state. We grab the zip code database for the postal services. So you put that in and it'll go ahead and store it.
Does it have all zip codes?
For the U.S. Yeah.
I think also important to see is that you can, unlike buy, you can incrementally, if you have 4 people in the household, you could say this person exited, but the others are still in the application. So we store for each individual the exit dates. And if someone else is added to the application, they can have a separate entry date into the application, and then also could be exited at a separate date. So then once you're finished doing the exit process, the last step is to then exit the whole application, and then it closes and locks out the application as a whole.
What? Sorry, in the history, is that how you get the annual assessment and exit household history?
Yes. Yeah, when you go here, I already started the exit process, but when you don't start it, this ad is enabled, and see right here it says review. So I can actually click this as many times as I want before I start the exit process. And so I can have one or multiple interim assessments before the exit, right? So, there could be 3 here, and every single one that's there, you just click it and then go to the details, and then you'll have your assessments, basically your income, the demographic information, all that information is available for you to modify for that point in time. Does that make sense? Okay, so one more thing before we get back to this list. Right here we have a message link, and when you click it, it goes to kind of a chat or kind of like a Facebook type of messaging system. And you can simply click in a message, and who am I in, Mercy House? Yeah, Mercy House. So I can see user. Yeah. So I can find a user and write them a message.
They're adding in the next release, whatever it's coming out before you get it, where you'll see the, kind of like in Facebook, you see everyone that is online and who's not online.
You read my mind.
So here you can see the thread of the conversation in the message. And on the left, you would have like all the various users. I mean, we're kind of all familiar with seeing that type of thread, so that you can communicate to anyone in the system regarding, whatever you're going to communicate about.
Do you still have the communications page?
Yes.
Okay.
We also have, that's a great transition. We also have, can you set up groups?
For chat.
Chat groups, right?
Yes.
He might be needing for the communication.
Yes, you can set up groups. As a matter of fact, the groups that exist would be the groups available. Chat groups, yes. Communication. And so we still have communication in our product, the communication tab. It's been redesigned. And so here you can see all communication, and you can click through various messaging. You can look at whatever's unread. We've revamped how we do referrals completely, and referrals are done strictly through creating a message communication. whether it's an internal, email, text, or a printed letter. In reference to a particular client, if you have that, to a particular client, whoever you're sending it to, the subject and the message, and you can go and send that referral.
Also attachments.
And then you can look at all your sent items as well.
So when you say all, this could either be specific to a client, or when you click all, even if I'm in John Smith's record, can I view all the communications? Because what we have are like shift report outs at the emergency shelter where they don't want to go into each individual client's record to see, here's what happened with Johnny, here's what happened with Sam, here's what happened with this.
Roland will have to answer that. I honestly, I don't know.
Go to the all, and all drop down, remember, the all drop down to your right. So this is everything we're sent to or whatever like that, and if you put in their name, okay, it will show you all the communications that were relevant to that person, kind of like in Outlook. So I would see, are you asking related to a particular person, all the communications, all
right, so what they do is like the shelter will say every day, here's our roster of people, and they add in notes for those people and plug it into a communication, and it's almost like a shift report out to say, John came in at 7, he had dinner, he did this, he's in bed. Sam came in at this time, did this, blah, 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 they're in bed. And so it's literally on all the clients in one place. So then when you come in at 6 o'clock in the morning, you can see what just happened from the previous shift all in that one.
I see what you're saying.
Okay. And that's how we currently use the communication page for like Urban Peak across the state. And they actually have pulled it in apparently to like court cases and stuff.
Wow.
So it's really important that they still have that.
Okay, well then,
we have to look at that.
Yeah,
That's different than this. This is all of my communications as it relates to different clients.
Right.
That's what this is. And my referrals, and referral responses and so forth.
one of the things that we will not have is items, general functionality that you guys had will not go away in 6. So obviously we didn't know
They were using that for that.
It took our product to a whole nother level, and so we'll just have to discuss with them how they're doing it so that we can ensure it's integrated. That's not a problem. Okay, before I go back to the sheet, I want to just go to a couple more things. So I talked about the calendaring, the resource manager, and good, I have some stuff in here. And so here you can see I had an appointment for a review for Rushton. I had maybe some services here that were provided. On the side, if I had tasks, it would show me a list of my tasks, some upcoming events, things of that nature.
Does the calendar be integrated with Outlook or other
there are options to do that, where whatever you schedule here can show up there. So there are widgets to do that. So are we doing it at this point? No, we haven't. But there are widgets to do that. The other thing in the calendar is that you can automatically have blackout dates, okay, so that you can schedule like all of your holidays, right, your agency holidays and so forth. And so it will actually show those as these little squares on the calendar as being these days or vacation days or individual blackout days. You can do individual ones for individuals that's saying, for instance, coordinated entry, there's different sites where people are available to do assessments. You can set that up and automatically on the calendar you would see what days and who's available to do various assessments and so forth for scheduling.
All right, I have like 20 minutes, guys, so I'm going to hold on the rest of the questions just to get over some stuff and then get back to the sheet, make sure we cover everything. So the appointment, you saw I just click it, create a new appointment, and fill out the information and click Save. That's how you would get like, an appointment like this. These items here in your setup, when you're setting up services, you can flag services to automatically show up on the calendar. And so as you generate the service to a particular client, it can generate that on the calendar. So you can call a service something that would make sense to be on the calendar, and as you generate it, it would automatically go there. And then the system allows you to jump to those clients, those client records.
The task list automatically generate like a list of clients that need annual assessment.
Yeah, those are all the auto rules that you can set up so that if they receive assessment, you can say 6 months and it'll automatically show up. And it'll show up on the task list.
Okay, here.
Yes. Yeah. You can pre-schedule it.
Okay, on the side here, the messages would be synchronized. Overdue tasks would be available here. And these items here on the right, we do not have turned on for the sandbox, but this is what you guys will be getting with version 6 in 4 to 6 weeks when we roll it out. Suggestions, and so this would be an interface where you guys can put suggestions to Adsystech. Your documents, so not only do you have the question mark on all the pages that gives you the drop down on how to use the page, but there are full user guides and quick sheets that will be available here on the documents page, a full video library of all the videos just in one place, calendar of the webinar, some information about what's new, and a place where you can ask the community specific questions.
And each of those are by role. So if you're not seeing this massive thing of thousands of different documents. Based on your role, you're going to see exactly what's relevant to your role.
So I want to get back to the sheet.
In the documents library, can we upload our forms? Like, can we upload an intake form? You know, whatever we use as a community by role, you know, upload those to the documents library so that people can go here, they can log in, go here, print it out if they want to fill it out.
There's a forms. We didn't show you everything. There is a forms on the document page. There's also a form. There's a button that says forms, and it pops up all the forms you're talking about. So you can print out any one of those forms.
On the document page, so that's specific to an enrollment, to an actual program.
If someone is enrolling and they need to fill out certain forms, at that point they would have a list of forms and they could print that out. Right? Do you want to? So.
I think Beverly's talking about a global kind of a form, right? Like that we would.
Right. So for example, when someone has a role of case manager, and we want to upload the intake forms, the exit forms, you know, all that, so that it resides in the documents library for that role, then that way, you know, we can always make sure that people have the most up-to-date forms.
System available instead of logging into it.
So we can.
Yeah, I'm saying those forms. You know, look, we have a repository for the forms. Adding them to this page, if you want to have that, that's fine.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, I think we're back. Hopefully you hear us. I'll look for a chat for someone to say yes.
Yep.
Okay, we got some yeses. Good. Okay, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Okay. I will now mute you back.
Wait, what?
All right, what was I? Oh, entering data. Okay, so easy to complete a program entry, update records, create an annual assessment, and exit client. You guys good with that?
What
Okay.
about useful feedback when I got something wrong?
That was the verification.
So the verification page, yeah. I gotta go outcomes, so I gotta show that in a second. So we did communications, right? So the system allows for communications between users or clients via notification, alerts, messages. We're good with that?
And you said that you'll include the current way that we're using the communication.
Yes, yeah, we have to do that. There's no way we would, yeah.
I'll write a note for that.
Okay, system security. The system security and privacy controls are easy to use and allow for granular control. So I think you guys, they're so easy you didn't even really notice them, but it's just like 5, it's a consent. And so everything is defaulted, so you don't need to touch it unless you're basically saying, hi, this person, like putting it on private. So are we okay with that?
I don't think that's what that's.
And the other sharing is set up at the system administrator level.
Yes.
So it looks like it's still the same idea of if you're in a certain group, you have access to these programs or these pages
And it's
or something
configurable
else.
according to rules.
Yes, yes, all that's
And
the same.
system levels and agency.
Yeah, and all of that we'll be getting into, we'll delve into tomorrow with the admin one, but this one here is for the users, so I figured it was just consent. I don't know.
There's a lot to go.
Okay, I'll do reports, and so we have outcomes, and then reports, and reports. Okay. All right, so let's do outcomes really quick. And Peter Gillis, right?
Okay.
As far as sharing across agency states, will it work exactly? Will that work easily with admin permissions? Yes, it will work really easily with admin permissions, and we'll be going that in detail during the admin evaluation tomorrow. Okay, so we need to find Peter, select Peter. Okay, so remember roles, change what you have access to. There's more stuff here. I didn't even get into the coordinated entry where you set up your inventory. We'll do that tomorrow. But we're going to go to the case plan page. And here in the case plan page, you have the ability to, so we have some standard assessments, which will allow you to measure this particular client across these domains. Income, housing, employment, transportation, health, energy, nutrition, education. Every single human being needs to be stable in these areas in their life, in this country, in order to be self-sufficient. And so our product allows you to do, and I'll show you the assessment really quick, but after you do the assessment, and we obviously did them all on the same day and just changed the answers, but imagine this is over time, you can see the color coding, how whether they're in crisis, vulnerable, stable, safe, or thriving, and how they started off kind of bad, and got a little bit better and got a little bit better to where their current situation is. They're actually thriving in a couple of areas, and they're stable in these areas, and so we did a pretty good job with our client. That's a good thing. And so this allows you visually to at least see, what you need to work on for your particular client.
Notice as he went over each of those and gave you what the answer was for each of those colors, right? So.
And so this is pretty much like it is today in version 5.
Yes.
This
Yes.
is just self-sufficiency.
Yes, it's just redone with some additional enhancements.
And that's oriented towards actual case management. You can see how well you're doing with a given client. What about outcomes measurement reporting? How does it figure in reports? If you want to make an aggregate report about the outcomes for a given agency, given program, given system.
So you would have certain goals set up for a particular client, and those goals are program-wide. And so every single client that has that goal, you aggregate those reports. How many people were successful, how many weren't. I mean, you can see how that.
And you'll see in the tomorrow, when you get into the administrative part, where you're setting up the programs and you're setting up the contracts, the programs, and what your performance measures are, you'll see how that ties directly into this. So this is really at the case manager level right now. And this is the case plan that you currently have and how that ties into it.
Okay, Roland, did you email me the links for the dashboard?
There's one of the agencies, largely, we have, they do this.
Okay, let me show reports in the 8 minutes we have left. And
I sent you the link.
You sent me the link.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So general reporting, similar where you have your favorites, and then you'll have like categories you can search for them. And so here we'll have, for instance, a dashboard report. Where am I at?
Are you in Adsystech?
Yeah.
Where you put them at?
I am. Let's see. I had so many I created. I don't know where I gave myself rights.
There you go.
Okay, I guess I give it rights over here. All right, so general reporting, you click the report, it will generate, and I think we did the dashboard one. So this is a dashboard management report. This isn't the dashboard functionality, and so those will be different. We'll show you those. Well, this is generating. I'm going to find that one's email. I don't see. Okay. So here's kind of just a little report, or you can get mapping or what have you to it. Let me give you another example of a report. Do like a quick count. So this is select all. Where I have data. And just program the work and all services. So dashboard reports. You still have the same functionality where you can, there's multiple pages and you can export them out to Excel, PDF, CSV, what have you. Let's go to this one.
So all the current ones that you have in version 5 are being mapped over, and then there's a set of new ones that we're doing, especially for the outcomes and performance and some of the case management. So we're revamping them. Yes?
In the summary, do you have the ability to click on the details through the summary report? So they say there's 2 people missing.
To drill down.
To drill down.
Yep. Yeah. That's all part of the new Microsoft reporting. I mean, that's standard in Microsoft now.
Which group, Roland?
That one.
Group? Admin. I thought he had it was just straight to the Microsoft backend.
Just go to the dashboard.
Dashboard type?
No, over there.
So this is, like we said, we're releasing these dashboards in like a month. So this is kind of a development, this is a development box that we're logging into. Either one, do you know? This demographic?
I don't remember. Loading now.
All right, so this would be the dashboard where you can get, whatever information they have. You guys get the concept of dashboards.
So will these be management reports that are pre-configured, or will there be like you'll have some dashboards you've created?
We're going to have some dashboards that we're going to have some that we created, so that you guys can just, click and have the, the value,
there's a dashboard
bars
designer if you choose to go that. Just like with management, right? There's Microsoft reporting.
Yeah.
That has the designer.
Or does it come with?
What's that, the designer?
Dashboard designer.
Yes, it is. It's a page. It's one of the administrative pages.
Okay.
So.
All right, and this is an ad hoc. I don't know what they put in here for me, but let's run it.
Okay.
Looks like a bow tie.
Looks like you got too much.
Yeah.
Let's just go to 7. Still a lot of data.
That and the drill down. Just show them the ad hoc designer, I guess, real quick, so they can just see where that. Oh, you're in Dr. Lee's? No, you're back.
Oh, I'm just kill his stuff, kill his
Yeah.
stuff.
Then you know which one you're in.
Which one is this? Oh, this
Yeah,
is the
this
designer.
Yeah, that's it. That's the designer.
So the designer, similar to the application where you guys have the pencil, and you just edit the pencil, and then you have the basic report information, name, title, category, your limits on display, the report types, pie charts, bar charts. Right now we just have the pie chart on the list, but like before, pie charts, bar charts, group sum and list, the matrix reports, the 50 field lists for dumps, things of that nature. And then here are the fields where you just click the checkbox of the fields that you want to be part of the ad hoc, and they show up here.
That's your sort.
I mean, here is where you can add the sort. You just click the little button. So these are your fields, this is the sort, and this is the grouping. And then you can just generate the report. So similar to before, where the views will be available, and just a little bit easier, where you can just hit the checkbox on the fields that you want, and then manage the sorting, the ordering of the sorting, if you want to delete it or remove that one from the sort order, and then the grouping. And that's how you basically generate the ad hoc. So it's pretty straightforward for those that would be using the ad hoc tools.
The field list.
Field list.
Do you have to go from view? Do you have to go from pre-created view to pre-created view, or have you put all the fields in that single field list?
So these lists are based on certain slices of the pie that you want to look at, because there's certain, like, you may want to look at data as it relates to applications, right? But you may want to look at data as it relates to the priority list, right? Which may be different from a standard application. And so we'll have them in here. There won't be as many as we had in 5, because we've really streamlined the structure of the database. But there still will be, more than one. There may be one for program setup, right? So you may want to have one looking at your organization, your contracts, your whatever that information is, right? And so you would just select the appropriate one, and then the values would be everything possible.
Now, will there be an ability for image learning and exploring from different places?
We do that for our customers. Yeah, so we do that already in the view, because our guys know our database and our database structure. The question was, will there be the ability to do like inner joins, outer joins? This is kind of some technical SQL talk, which allows, basically the question is, can you relate data with other data? And the answer is yes. And what Adsystech does is we know those relationships in our product, and we do those for you already so that you don't have to worry about it. Okay?
So do you have any other recording questions?
All right, so just really quick, the outcome measurement we went over. Was there any questions?
Can you just run an APR for us? I'm still not clear on how easy the APRs are. And
We
also,
included, I don't think it's in the sandbox.
Can we do that in the sandbox?
Yeah, we could do that like in the report.
Okay, well, I'm just saying.
Yeah, we have a recording
Wow,
session.
right, okay, okay, while waiting for you. Sorry.
Well, just really quick, at the end we went over just the basic reports, the management reports, the ad hoc reports, and then the dashboard tool. We have a session specifically on reporting where we're going to get into more detail on that.
tomorrow.
Now, this is basically doesn't exist.
Are we doing the sandbox today?
Yes, so
Mile High
all the sandboxes are gonna be at Mile High United Way for those people who wanna come in person. And then for those people who, wanna be on the webinar, I think you should have gotten that link and the SurveyMonkey tool from your COC.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, and just really quick to answer these questions online. I didn't forget about you guys.
If you guys wanna drop your surveys
Can
off.
you add domains, perhaps, Social Security, SSDI, SOAR, SNAPS, et cetera, or are those part of the present domains? Those are part of the present domains. Those are part of the question set. So they're already in there. Sean asked, do you work with agencies that have no HUD requirements in version 6? Yes, we do. Are you able to customize those screens to meet their needs? Yes, we are. Sean, will case managers be able to run reports? Does it depend on the lead permissions? Yes, all reports are based on the permissions given by the administrator. Our product allows case managers to run any reports that they're granted rights to. And Phyllis, do you use API layering with other clients? We're interested in adding our programs that have EHR in the near future to the same database as possible. Yes, we are very familiar with creating APIs to interact with other systems, common practice. So that would not be a problem whatsoever. We currently do that for customers. David is hungry, and Sean smiles. Okay, so this ends my recording, and I guess I will be giving this to Beverly, who will make it available for everyone else. Thank you.